That wasn't supposed to be my Randy Macho Man. Oh yeah, Savage. It's Wednesday. Welcome. We're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna have a really interesting conversation. We're gonna fold in a lot of layers. We're gonna make a cake. And in order to do that, I have a super awesome guest. I've had a lot of rad guests. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people say yes. All you gotta do is ask. But this guy, I have been following their channel forever, for ages and ages, and I have the esteemed pleasure of welcoming the mouthpiece of the epitome of pop culture, none other from world class. I'm not going to say, yeah, I've been live 2 hours, 2 minutes, 45 seconds from world class bullshitters, Jeff Hicks.
Oh man, thanks for having me. I love the
I had to
introduction.
clear that 2 minutes.
I try to do that, and then sometimes the guys on the show just kind of tank it within 30 seconds. So I'm like, it's that kind of show. Okay, we got it.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that, and that's fine. Yeah, as long as I clear 2 minutes, I'm good. Then we can use adult language. It's fine. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. It's a lot colder here in my neck of the woods than it was last week, so I'm dealing with the weather change and the Halloween hangover. Not a literal hangover, but I went hard in the paint for all the horror stuff last year or this past season, and I'm just like burnt out. I need a break now.
I hear you on all fronts. It was like Saturday, Sunday. I was starting to set up all my Halloween displays, and I go pretty hard in the paint on the Halloween display stuff. And it was like 70 degrees. It was really nice. And then Tuesday, this massive storm came through and just utterly destroyed everything that I set up. Then it was like 40 degrees. And I'm like, what's going on here? So yesterday I had to reset everything back up and try to do this and that, and work, actual like job type work. And yeah, today I was just tearing it all down and getting ready for you and me hanging out with some rad people in the chat. So now I'm good to go.
I see some good names in the chat, like this guy named Laser Pants. He liked your shirt, man.
This freaking dude, Laser Pants Ryan, sends a $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much, Ryan. It says, nice shirt. I actually told Ryan earlier, I was like, I'm gonna wear my shirt tonight because I'm already a hater. I'm just gonna piss everybody off. So whatever. Might as well wear it. So thank you, Ryan. And then we got another super chat. $2 super chat from Johnny B. Custom says, y'all are toxic like cesspool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Do you get called toxic? Do you ever get that?
Oh man, toxic is like the nicest thing we get called, because what happens a lot of times is people mistake our channel for other like they'll think they watched one of our videos when they've watched someone else, and they'll like complain about all this stuff. I go, you got the wrong group. And then a lot of times they'll respond back and go, oh, I guess I do, but they never apologize for it. So toxic's fine, believe me. I've heard worse.
Yeah, it's it's just one of those things. Like that's the new Boy Who Cried Wolf. You're a hater. You're a hater. It's like, shut up, man. So tired of
Some
hearing
things
that
just
crap.
deserve criticism.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I had a guy try to blast me today because I had Ryan and Articulated Ninja on Sunday. We were just discussing HasLabs, and all we did was we just kind of went through the HasLabs, discussed pros, cons. Do you have it? Do you not? Like, what are your experiences with it? And it was just a very measured discussion amongst 3 toy collectors. And immediately this guy's like, these guys are the reason that Hasbro is tanking and they're haters and don't listen to anything they say. And I'm like, well, you didn't watch the video, so thanks. But yeah,
I find
everybody's a hater.
Yeah, everyone is a hater. And I find a lot of those people, they just seem like if Hasbro themselves wanted to point the finger at why their business decisions got them into that place. It's like, yes, these 3 gentlemen discussing why or why not they like something are the reason why tens of thousands of people aren't buying specific products. We're clearly, that powerful.
Yes, I have influence over hundreds of thousands of people for no reason whatsoever. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Laser Pants Ryan wants to know, where is Darth Vader's disembodied charred penis or disembodied charred phallus, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. I have that action figure over in storage. Like, we'll keep it secret who sent it to me to keep the shade, the facade alive. But yeah, I have like a resin cast hot dog with a Darth Vader helmet, and it's all burnt up and charred. It's one of my
I
favorite
know, I
things.
remember you talking about it.
Back, and when I do, I'm going to show that back off because that, we've received a lot of stuff on the channel, and that's still my favorite, next to this other package from Salvador, who sent me a box that when you opened it up, it played my voice saying "Welcome to World Class Bullshitters," and then it played Axel F. And I was like, that is the coolest thing anyone's ever done for me. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, Sal's a rad dude. That's fantastic. I got another $5 super chat. Thank you. Ravenwitch66 sends a $5 super chat. Says, "What's up, Chad? What's up, Jeff? Not what's up, me." Yeah. So, just taking a quick second. I'm just breathing it in. You've been on WDW Pro, right?
Oh yeah,
I thought I saw you on there.
Yeah, I've been on his channel a handful of times. He's been on our channel
roll
a handful
like
of
this?
times.
You
It's
just
cool
roll
with
like
me,
this?
man. I mean, I just don't have a
I'm
great
just kidding.
toy setup right now.
I'm just kidding. I love all those channels, but it's always just icons, and I'm like, come on, man. I know why Pro doesn't do it, but
Well, to be fair, when I was living out west, I just had a really boring beige wall behind me, but I would be on camera. But as soon as I can get this place set up the way I want to, I will, because I get toy envy. You laser pants. I mean, Bobby's got the office of offices, but like I look at a lot of guys setups and I'm like, I have the toys to necessitate these shelves. I just need to put in the time. I'm so busy with my comic right now. It's like I don't even have. I should just go buy shelving and put it up. I have no excuse.
Yeah, we're gonna chat about that comic at some point. I put it in the slides.
Oh, thank you.
Just remind me to not move left or right, because if this is already bothering you, you don't want to see what's directly behind me. So, Big Bacon sends a $2 super chat, and he says, "Matt Damon and Admiral Holdo." That's your favorite character.
I want to know what I'm going to see more in my travels, Admiral Holdo or Rose Tico, because I own more Rose Ticos, but
Yeah, do you? All right, here you go, Mike. Ta-da! That's for usual, Mike. Yep.
Right. Whoa, what is that? Is that all G.I. Joe?
Yeah, it's the flag and the Defiant and all that stuff.
So I'm showing my age here. I didn't grow up with G.I. Joe. So while I am a toy guy and I've read about G.I. Joe, I don't want to say academically because that makes toy collecting sound way more important, but like I've read about it in that way, but I've never really interacted with a ton of G.I. Joe.
And that's totally cool. That's absolutely fine. I was born in 77, so I got in with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero on the ground floor in 82. But I had a friend when we were kids who had a flag. And the funny thing is, if you want to talk about like was that 7 degrees of separation or 6 degrees or whatever of Kevin Bacon, the kid who was my friend who had a flag and treated it like it was always in his way, he would like walk over and be like, "Oh, this stupid thing," it was always a burden for him. His dad was no shit the guy who did the reconstructive surgery on Mark Hamill's face.
Whoa.
Yep.
Dude, what a small world.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I remember I used to go over to his house and he had like a picture of Mark Hamill framed and signed. And I remember one day I asked him, like, how'd you, because when you're kids, you're like, how'd you get that Luke Skywalker, And he was like, "Oh yeah, my dad did the surgery on his face." And I was like, "What? No, get out." And he's like, "Yeah, my dad did his reconstructive surgery." So,
well, thank you to his dad. We all love Luke Skywalker
and the Wampa. Yep. Robert's Infinite Realm says it's the Toxic Crusaders. Yep. Me and Mr. Hicks here. Brandon says I just flashed everybody. I did. And then Mutron78 says I hate Joes. I do. I hate G.I. Joe. Absolutely. Here's one that's kind of weird. I've never seen a Rose Tico in person. You lie. How have you never
I
seen
own them all.
Jeff Hicks owns them all. Yep. And then our good friend TJC sends a $2 super chat and says, "Just because," thumbs up. Thanks, Terry. Greatly appreciate that, buddy. All right. So you have done a lot of videography, I want to say, of discount stores, specifically Ollie's. Like you're the one that put Ollie's on my radar. Cool. And talking about all of these toy lines that have been clogging up Ollie's. And I'm sure everyone who's hanging out with us tonight has seen those videos and watches them when they release. I just watched your most recent one, which was awesome.
Thank you.
What made you start doing that, those videos?
So it didn't start out at Ollie's specifically. It started out way back at Toys R Us. So I've been doing the toy video since 2017. And the way it worked out is, as you know, I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. I grew up in the 90s when Star Wars wasn't around, but I got into it when it got re-released on videotape in the Power of the Force 2 line. So I was like, I call myself like the last remnant of the original Star Wars fan group because it was before the prequels, it was before the special editions, it was just those 3 movies. It was even before Shadows of the Empire. So I was this big Star Wars fan and got into the movies, loved them. Lived through the prequels, got back into Star Wars, all that fun stuff.
Right.
But I could feel something was off when they announced those Disney movies. So I was like, this feels weird. The trailer feels off. I can't really put my finger on it. But I went into the store on that Forced Friday in 2015, and I was like, these Star Wars toys didn't sell a lot. I'm going to keep watching. So then that Christmas of 2015, I went back right after the season. There was a lot of Star Wars. And so we get through Rogue One, and all of a sudden I go, wait a second. Some of this stuff is exactly the same toy that has been sitting here, because there was an AT-ACT Walker that had like its stormtroopers missing. And I thought, well, of course people aren't going to buy those ones. They're missing parts. But like everything around it started to collect dust. So one day I was at a Toys R Us and I pulled out my phone and I went, there's something off here. And so I drove to all the Toys R Us's in my city, and I noticed that everyone had Force Awakens, Rogue One, and soon-to-be Last Jedi toys on the shelves, and they never moved.
Yeah.
And so I made a couple of those videos, mostly Toys R Us. Then I went to Kroger and found the Last Jedi toys clearance like 2 weeks after the movie was out. And I'm like, this isn't how business works. So then I start going, I normally would shop at Ollie's because they're in my area. I'd get comic books or just random crap. And so I started to see that Ollie's would get the same Star Wars toys that main retailers were getting years ago. And I went, something's off again. So then I just would keep going back to Ollie's and see new stuff that would completely skip main retail, show up on clearance, mostly Disney products through Hasbro. And that's kind of how it evolved. I would keep going into the stores. I still go into the stores. I got another video coming out this week, which I did a big trip for again. Like, it just keeps clogging at Ollie's. They keep clogging on retail shelves because something happened. And it's not just the pandemic or whatever. Something has happened with a lot of these brands, and people are just skipping them. Be it, you get the collectors that buy it online. Your average consumer doesn't want it. There's a lot of different factors. But that, in a nutshell, is how I got into doing the Ollie's videos.
Awesome. And you are correct, so I apologize for that. I do remember you started at Toys R Us. And
I miss Toys R Us. That was my favorite
oh,
store.
God, I miss Toys R Us too. In fact, when I pull up the slideshow, the very first picture is an Ollie's that used to be a Toys R Us, which
I don't know how I
one
feel
of those
about
things where it's almost meant to be, since Ollie's is like the place to find all these toys, and this Ollie's used to be a Toys R Us.
So many toys at these stores.
Oh God. M Vargo 97, what's up, buddy? Sends a $2 super chat and says Ollie's good stuff cheap. Speaking of good stuff and M Vargo, I just got this from Mr. M Vargo. And
that's cool.
Video on that. So again, M Vargo, thank you for the septic tank, and thank you for the $2 super chat. And then JLS Comics, Jeff, I know you've been around the YouTubes for a while, but I don't know if you've ever seen JLS Comics. His stuff is incredible. So he does
check
a
it out.
lot
I'm
of
a comics fan.
Yeah, he does like a who is or what is, like who is Norman Osborn, who is, First Sergeant Duke Conrad Hauser, etc. So he does really
Well, he just got
good
a subscriber out of me. Let me take a screenshot of the screen real quick, and I will.
Rad.
There you go. Boom.
And then JLS Comics says, at this point, Hasbro should do an Ollie's exclusive, which is funny because that's what Elite Legend Toys and Collectibles keep saying, that you might as well just start slapping Ollie's labels on some of these toys. And he talks about that a lot. So, all right. What we're going to look at, and then here's the Ollie's that used to be Toys R Us.
Oh, that hurts.
Kind of cool, kind of sad at the same time, right? A little bit of both. Yeah. But I thought it was a little apropos to have Ollie's Toys R Us on here. So I know you had said you kind of started this with Toys R Us, which is true. And KB Jodegrass is here and says, "Evening, gentlemen. Rip Toys R Us." Yeah, absolutely. What do you feel about them coming back, Jeff?
I'm excited because I don't have the same Toys R Us memories that other people do, where Toys R Us is the expensive store in my area. Where I lived in Cincinnati, Toys R Us was 5 to like 9 cents difference in your Walmart or whatever. So where I grew up, Toys R Us was like the best deal. It was KB Toys that was too expensive. So my mom took me to Toys R Us all the time. I was an only child and very lucky. And I would get Power Rangers or wrestling or superheroes, mostly at Toys R Us. I mean, I waited in line for the GameCube at a Toys R Us, bought an Xbox 360 at Toys R Us. Hell, I mean, my name's Jeff. Their mascot's Jeffrey. I used to joke as a kid, like, the mascot's named after me. So I was in that store. And my Toys R Us that I filmed at, I was there on opening day and on closing day because it opened in like 93. So I was like, I got to be there for the last day. I wasn't the last customer, but I tried to be.
Yeah. Look, Jeff.
There he is.
There he is. I felt a disturbance in my force skin. Someone say my name. Yeah, actually.
Oh,
I love it. This is why I love live streaming. Thank you for being here and for your comedic timing. It's brilliant. I totally agree with you. Yeah, KB Toys was, I don't want to say always, but they were most often found in malls, and so their prices are going to be more expensive than everybody else anyway. But Toys R Us was kind of one of those slow slides that really bummed me out, where I wanted to support Toys R Us. I wanted to buy items from them, but more and more often I would go into a Toys R Us and they wouldn't have what I was looking for, and so I would leave empty-handed, and then I would just feel worse, and it would just kind of go on and on and on, and then they were gone, and it sucked. But kind of where we're living.
yeah. I mean,
But
I'm like one of those weirdly lucky collectors where it's like I need X, and I'll just so happen to find it within a reasonable window of time. So a lot of my collections just kind of built on that. Like, right. Plus, I live in an area where we get everything. So, like in Cincinnati, we like obviously Kenner Toys were here. So growing up, you'd get a lot of their stuff right away. But even with like some Bandai stuff, it would like get stuck here and never make it to other parts of the country. So when I was into the Power Rangers stuff, we'd get it. It wouldn't show up anywhere else. So it all just
and
my love of Toys R Us.
that's another thing that we're going to kind of fold into this discussion is distribution, and areas that get a lot of stuff, areas that get everything, areas that get things first, and then areas that don't see shit. And I'm in one of those areas that doesn't see much at all. So, all right. So we're not necessarily talking about Ollie's, but we're going to fold in a lot of different things. So as of yesterday, these are the screenshots from the NASDAQ index of Hasbro and Ollie's. So you see that Hasbro's been going down, 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 and they're currently their stock is valued at $45.04 a share. Whereas Ollie's has been going up and up, and currently their stock is valued at $77.16 a share. So numbers don't lie, right? I'm trying to quantify stuff, but at the same time have kind of a discussion. I don't want to say spirited, but just have a nice discussion, and then we'll see where it goes. But that's what we're looking at. And later on toward the end, we're really going to break down more into the Hasbro stuff.
Cool.
And so I have to thank everybody in the community. Again, I don't have an Ollie's near me. So I put it out through social media, specifically Facebook, because Instagram, everybody wants to post like a picture of their food or their cat, and they really don't want to talk. So a lot of people on Facebook, especially the 3POA podcast Facebook group, shout out to them, sent me a lot of pictures of stuff at Ollie's. So I don't have Ollie's in New Mexico. But some of these photos that everyone's going to see in this slideshow are the same photo, just doubled up, because I wanted people to be able to see them better without cutting anything out. So this is a shopping cart full of G.I. Joe cases of toys. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really.
When I go, because I think I went to 4 Ollies or 3 Ollies over the weekend. I found one that I had never seen so much crap at before, and I'm like, where does this come from? I mean, obviously it's from Hasbro, but I mean, I always wonder, like, do they know what they're buying when they buy back stock from some of these things? Like, they got 1,000,000 in one of these Snake Eye. What is it? This is the Baroness and Scarlet. They have like these two from the Snake Eyes movie that they made a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
They have like rows of these cases of these figures, and I'm just like, we know that some of these female action figures aren't the most popular. Like, they're going to sell to collectors at Ollie's, and they're going to be stuck there forever because kids don't necessarily want these characters too. So I'm looking at Ollie's like, man, some of this stuff won't even sell at Ollie's. They're gonna be stuck with it for a while.
Yeah. You've always been a real witty guy when you talk about especially the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Like when you would really get under its skin, like some of the stuff that you guys would say. That the Baroness from the Snake Eyes movie, I always call her the Kareness because she doesn't look like an international terrorist. She just looks like some woman that's going to come complain about the cost of something or her food's too cold. So I've always called her the Kareness, and that's just kind of, she doesn't look dangerous at all. But I didn't mind Samara Weaving as Scarlet. I thought that as far as 6-inch Scarlet offerings that had been out there so far, because there was only one before the Samara Weaving version, that she looked good. It was a good sculpt. Well, whatever. Full disclosure, 99% of what I'm about to show, I've never seen in my area whatsoever.
Oh,
And
okay.
even though I don't buy G.I. Joe Classified, I only have 7 of them. And I don't buy them. I don't hunt them. I don't look for them. But I still always go down the boys' action toy aisle, no matter where I go. If it's Target, if it's Walmart, whatever, it's ingrained in us as collectors. And I'll always go down those aisles, but I don't see anything where I live. So anyway, shopping cart piled high. And then here's a couple of rows. And just like you were talking about, Jeff, there's a whole bunch of Snake Eyes movie stuff right there down the center. So,
yep, this looks just like my Ollie's, and I see the vintage style Obi-Wan figures and those random Avengers things. And the best toy that will never sell, it's like a disc launcher with the Eternals. I've never seen like one of them be moved from the shelf at my Ollie's in like 6 months. So again, it's just some random stuff that it's like, why does this even exist?
I don't know. Now, as far as like the Snake Eyes movies figures, I mean that movie didn't do well. It bombed. It made what, like 24 million in the theaters off a budget of 80 million, and that's without the P&A, the prints and advertising. So it did not do well. And as a lifelong Joe guy, my thought was always you would have hurt the brand less by not even putting that movie out. And that's just me, because how did that move the needle forward in a positive direction for Joe as a brand? I don't think that it did. So you see all the, what's referred to as dirty milk water Storm Shadow. And for some reason, they always want to put him in like some weird tuxedo tailed coat. And I don't understand why. Like, what's wrong with making him look like Storm Shadow from the comics? And then there's your Aikiko figure. There's the Kareness. And then you've got some Snake Eyes figures top and bottom. And those are not from the, no, they are from the movie, as you were. Sorry. But is this kind of what you
Legends
see?
too? Yep,
Yeah.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can go to any of my Ollies and find every single one of these toys, including maybe not J. Jonah Jameson anymore. He's the little man in the suit. That's like 1 or 2 over from Storm Shadow. But like, yeah, I mean, every Ollie's I go to, it's the same. It's Last Jedi figures. It's Doctor Strange Wave Marvel Legends. It's G.I. Joe Classified. It's the Legacy collection of Star Wars, the Black Series that get repackaged or whatever. Every store, everyone has 20 Holdos. Everyone has 10 Han Solos. You name it, they're there.
Crazy. Paul says $5 and we're still passing on the Kareness. Yes, we're still passing on the Kareness. Wilhelm Toy and Hobby says, man, this is why Hasbro's down. 2 extreme haters on screen and over 70 haters in the chat that probably didn't even hit the like button. Hit that shit, folks.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Generation Retro says, I think the 2 Ollies near me just threw hundreds of Black Panther, Eternals, and Doctor Strange figures away for better use of the store retail space. Hundreds just disappeared this month. Is that something they do, Jeff? I know you kind of hunt these stores regularly. Do they just disappear stock?
Well, okay, so to the best of my knowledge, the way Ollie's works is they buy their stuff, from these retailers. They have a window with it, but there is another part of the retail chain where people can sell this stuff for like raw goods, and there's videos out there of like loot boxes being taken apart, and they'll just like destroy the figure and turn it into plastic, and they'll resell the plastic. So that does happen with retail. Like, not everything you talk about sells. Like, there are even vintage stuff that collectors want today. I guarantee you some of that had been sent off and got destroyed or something like that. So that's my guess, especially with the Black Panther stuff. I have never seen a more like limp response to a superhero film from Marvel. Like, only Black Adam itself has had such a miserable disappointment of a toy line come out this past couple years.
Was Black Adam toy line worse than the Flash?
Well, I am seeing the Flash at discount already, because there's a hierarchy to the discount retailers, and usually Ross Dress for Less gets before Ollie's.
Yep.
So Ross already has the Flash out there. I saw the Batwing in this new video I got coming out this Saturday, folks. I got like Batwings, and Michael Keaton figures are showing up there. It just, it all, from whatever came out in this movie season, it's all there already. People just don't want it. And Ross is crazy too, because you get better deals at Ross. You'll get a $10 figure at Ollie's is only $5.99 at Ross, and it's the same toy. So,
Yeah, we've got 3 Rosses in my city, and I went to all 3 of them hunting down a bunch of those retro 4-inch GI Joe figures, like the Stalker and all of them. I only found 3 figures, but I have this weird thing when I go into stores that I don't like to leave empty-handed. So in one, I found like a Transformer, and then another one, I found one of those like cheapo, pardon me, off-brand like U.S. Army sets with like a watchtower. But
okay.
I still find a lot of good stuff at Ross. Now, they did have Tomax, Zaymot, Stalker. They had that kind of wave from Classified. So I do at least have the ability to shop at Ross and TJ Maxx. So TJ Maxx gets some good stuff too.
I used to go there as a little kid. Just my mom would shop there for like random house stuff, and so I'd always look through their toys and books. Yeah, that's always a store I used to go to.
My buddy found this sucker for me. This is a 1/18 scale A10 Warthog.
Oh, nice.
$25. So
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's actually got a wider wingspan than the Rattler, so it's a little bigger.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna open that and customize that sucker up.
I want to get into toy customizing so bad. I just don't. I've been an artist, so I know how to do certain things, but I know if I start, I won't stop, because it's like, oh, I can do this and that, and then I gotta get fodder and all that. I gotta be careful, especially with wrestling figures.
Yeah, JMK Custom Works, who's in the chat, he's actually a phenomenal action figure customizer, and my forte is more vehicles and playsets. For some reason, I can't paint eyes. They always wind up looking like Sloth from the Goonies. So I was like, yeah, I'll let other people do the figures, and I'll kind of do play sets and vehicles. So that's kind of my little niche. I make a lot of 4-inch scale mask stuff.
Oh, cool.
Something I enjoy doing. I'm just kind of eyeballing the chat as we're going. I don't want to miss chats. I really like the people in the chat. So
they're the ones that keep us alive. I mean, I get to do this as a full-time thing, and the audience is why I get to. So I understand, you're trying to do this, do that. Believe me, I understand, man.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate it. Paul says, my Ollie's does not get Sergeant Slaughter, Zorana, or the twins, only that movie figure junk. Well,
if we got Sergeant Slaughter, I'd buy every one of those, because I'm a wrestling fan. And so to me, he's just still a wrestler. But the G.I. Joe figure they put out, I thought was pretty cool. I think the Valaverse one's pretty bitchin' too. So,
oh yeah, I got the Valaverse one. I really liked him. I liked the fact that he was Sergeant Slaughter now, and the whole idea that Joe was always future forward, and then when Bobby Vala came up with his Action Force story with like New Colonia and all that stuff, and all these stories and characters, and kind of wove everything in together. When he made Sergeant Slaughter, he didn't try to make him younger. He made him like now grizzled, with the brace on his leg and stuff. And I did appreciate that it was something new. it was something familiar, but it was different at the same time. And it wasn't just like, oh, look, kids, here's 86 Sergeant Slaughter again, because like, I don't know. And the fact that he had that massive Colt Python just looked rad, you know. I like that.
I'm a fan of I'm in a lot of Facebook groups with a lot of these people that are probably in the chat right now. And I'm in the Valverse group and I'm in the 3POA. I'm in your group. So
yeah, buddy.
I mean, I look at all the toys. Believe me, I may look at shit that I don't even own, but I'm aware of what's out there.
And that's actually a good point that Paul brings up, and then you as well. We're going to kind of discuss why is it that Ollie's can get fan channel toys, and I didn't know the answer. I reached out and I got the answer, and we'll talk about it, and then I'm going to give a shout out to who gave me that answer because I think that stuff is cool. Anyway, so here's more of the movie figures, and then the retro 1/18 scale Hiss 3 tanks are starting to show up at Ollie's, and everyone knows that I have this weird addiction for Hiss tanks, so I have 51 of them now after that septic tank, and so I get messages from people left and right. Hey, I'm going to Ollie's. How many Hiss tanks do you want? And I'm like, whatever, man, whatever you pick up, just let me know how much. So I'm just like getting Hiss tanks left and right. So Scott Hughes just sent me 4. I got a bunch of other people sending me Hiss tanks.
I want to buy one because I saw it the other day when I was filming a video, and I thought, I don't collect G.I. Joe, but this is really cool looking. And I kind of want to just build like a 3 3/4 inch multi-line whatever. And I also want to deal with 6-inch scale toys too, because it's just, I'm at a point where I just like to collect anything that looks cool.
Right. Yeah, like if it speaks to you, just get it.
Yeah.
And that's rad. Pardon me. I'm a little more focused when it just comes to like 1/18 scale G.I. Joe stuff and the peripheral lines that fit in with it, Masterpiece Transformers, things like that.
Those are way out of my price range, but I love them. I want to buy the Optimus Prime one because I think Optimus Prime is one of the coolest designs ever.
I have the MP10 Prime, and he's right above my head, and I just look at him all the time. He's pretty rad. Like the Matrix of Leadership comes out of his chest and stuff. Pretty rad. Wilhelm says that Hiss tank for $12 is a hell of a deal. Yeah, it is. But even at retail, it was only 20, 25, 30, 35. I don't, whatever. Disregard that. Hey, Scott Hughes, I just gave you a shout out, dude. And since you're late, you can pie. So anyway.
All right, pie.
Yeah, I gave Scott a shout out about his Hiss tanks. And then, so here's some of the twins. Here's a couple of cases of Tomax and Zama. I hope it's Tomax and Zama, and not just, 3 cases of Tomax. I don't really know how that works. But. That's one of the things a lot of people said they should package them together because their distribution is not very reliable. But I actually walked into a store. I walked into a Ross and I found a Tomax and a Zama, and I considered purchasing them to the point where I had them in my hand for more than 30 seconds. And I was like, nah, and I just put it back. Whatever.
The thing I noticed in that photo is the Solo a Star Wars story toys, because I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you when the twins came out from G.I. Joe. I'm guessing the last 1 to 2 years, right?
I want to say the last 6 months.
Okay, I swore I read something about like a press release, because like I said, I follow everything that comes out just for fun. But that Solo a Star Wars story stuff is from 2018. That's the point I'm making with a lot of the videos is this isn't just stuff that's like, missed regular retail. This is stuff that failed at regular retail and sits there for half a decade at this point. Like that will never sell. And that's the bigger problem with a lot of this stuff too. Like I'm not a Hasbro like super enthusiast, but they got the short end of the stick with the Disney Star Wars stuff because they were, we had J.W. Rinsler on, and he was talking about how licensing worked differently under George Lucas than it does under the Kathleen Kennedy regime. Yep. And, back in the day, they knew what was going to be popular. They were allowed to look. Hasbro just had to make a lot of blind stuff, and like Constable Zuvio and all these random characters that you thought were going to be big deals.
I mean, look at Bruce Snaggletooth, right? Like that's the best example. Yeah.
I mean, at least he comes from a great movie. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So this solo movie stuff, solo movie, that stuff is still sitting in my AFES exchange, right? Because I'm a military. I live on a military installation. So in the AFES exchange, they have a sad, shitty little toy aisle, and it's like half an aisle. They still have the solo stuff. and I walk by it all the time, and I'm like, crap.
Before that movie came out, Walmart had the Black Series figures of that for $5. And I made a video about it, and I bought all those figures for $5 each because I'm like, hey, a $20 toy for $5, I'll take it. I'll bite. So I own, Alden Ehrenreich, Donald Glover, and whoever else is in that Black Series wave. I got them, but I paid $5. So
Kira, did they make Kira?
Maybe, and I think there's some kind of trooper with like a furry.
Yeah, the Mimban. Yeah, it's like the weird looking
Robo from the Foosh made like a custom of it, so that's where I know it from.
Yeah. World Made a Cardboard said he missed the beginning, and you and I need to start over.
Sure. So let's go back to Toys R Us. That's when I started making my videos.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. And then Wilhelm says, I never saw one on Walmart shelves, and I have 4 Walmarts by me. I guess we're talking about the Hiss tank. Then people showing them stacked to the max at Ollie's. Again, this is part of the conversation that Jeff and I are having tonight, is that some of this stuff you will never see hit retail, period. And then they just show up at the discount outlets. Do you have any theory on that, Jeff? Is it just like shit distribution, or they just leave it in the back for too long or something?
Well, I don't know. It's not about that. What a lot of it is sometimes stores, I don't know exactly how, like, let's say Walmart will sell some of their extra stuff off to Ollie's. A lot of these places will just look at what sells. So like, let's say wave 19 of G.I. Joe didn't sell at all. Right. And Walmart stuck with them. So they might pass it up, and then it might go to Ollie's. And it might be stuck at wave 19 at Walmart until it sells. Like with Star Wars stuff, that's how it was. They wouldn't get in new stuff until they would move through that movie stuff. And a lot of that movie stuff just skipped out. I mean, Rise of Skywalker didn't even have a toy line. That is the only Star Wars movie that never have a toy line. And people go, it's not a big deal. Star Wars essentially invented the 3 3/4 inch toy. Like it's
Star Wars is a merchandising juggernaut. Yeah, that's where all the money's from.
Bigger. Yeah.
When Disney bought Lucasfilm, they were looking at the money generated from the merchandising. They weren't looking at just, oh, we get the Force and we get this and we get that and we can make it all female. We can screw over Luke Skywalker. They were looking at toys. Disney, they know how to sell toys. Well, I don't know about anymore, but they used to. And that's what they were looking at. When they saw dollar signs buying Lucasfilm, they weren't thinking about fucking Willow and Indiana Jones. They were thinking about toys and merchandising.
Yeah.
Just like, yogurt. Merchandising. Merchandising. Robert's Infinite Realm said, I saw one Hiss tank at Walmart and passed thinking I could get it later. Never saw it again. Man, that sucks. And then AZ Toy Hunters Guild. Is that Arizona? Let me know if that's Arizona. I snagged the Viper 3-pack at Ross for $15. And again, we're going to get into the whole Wire fan channel offering showing up at these discount outlets. So we will get to that. And then, so here's some more Tomax and Zaymot and Stalker. So this is that wave where the 3 of them came out. And again, apparently Hasbro's going to start making their classified go back to 5 figures a wave. They put it down to 3 for a while, and then they got really inconsistent. So,
I wonder if
Disney was looking through rose Tico colored glasses.
Oh, Scuba Steve. What a great name. What up, Scuba Steve? I think we've crossed paths before.
Yeah, Scuba's a great dude. Anyway, I'm sorry I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, you don't have to apologize at all. All I was musing is, you know how Hasbro's gone to the single case, like single pack per figure case. I wonder how much that has to do with some of the stuff too. Cause like, I just see like cases of Ponda Baba from the Black Series. I know other figures came out in that wave, but it's like Ollie's is a weirdly fractured place. Like for G.I. Joe, it's a little different because these are newer and I don't necessarily know the economics of G.I. Joe as I do other toy lines. But like with Marvel Legends, you know, they'll get like with the Spider-Man, we saw J. Jonah Jameson. We never saw Spider-Man proper at Ollie's. Like the Spider-Man figure sold, but J. Jonah Jameson and Shriek and the other figures in the line. And so I wonder if that's a situation where if Hasbro doesn't even care because they make so much off of like the cases of single Spider-Man cover all the other figures. I don't know directly from them, but I wonder if that's the case with some of these, because you don't have the impetus to, buy a bunch as a store. You just go, oh, Spider-Man sells, Batman sells, and Han Solo sells. We don't want Luke Skywalker, or we don't want, Padme this or that. So I wonder if that's something that's going on with the toys.
And then, some independent retailers and online retailers who are, smaller level, they will say that the distributors don't even know what's in the cases most of the time. They're just like, this is what I got. Like, you wanted 12 cases? And then you'll get 12 cases, and it's not enough of specific figures for these retailers to fill orders. And so then they're like scrambling with the distributors. And a lot of the times the distributors are like, you got your 12 cases, like, tough. So it's
not all
the whole
toys are
thing is
created
just
equal.
wacky.
It
No,
is.
they're not. Wolverine Sneak said, speaking of merchandising, a good friend of mine made me a Spaceballs the coffee mug. That's pretty rad. I'm waiting for my Spaceballs the flamethrower.
Yeah, me too. It's been a lot of Christmases.
Yeah, I know, right? And then we got, okay. This is not a wallpaper. This is how many regular, I want to call them regular because there's a retro carded version as well, but these are the regular Crimson Guards. Look at all those. That's a lot.
Jeez.
And I'm a huge fan of the Crimson Guard. I'm a big fan of the Crimson Twins as well. I never saw a single Crimson Guard at any store. Not a Target, not a Walmart, not a Walgreens, nothing. Not even my local collectible stores. Never saw one in New Mexico whatsoever. And then that's all at Ollie's.
Well, this makes me kind of regret how I had been collecting toys for the last couple of years, because when I was living out west, we didn't have Ollie's, as you know. And so I was in Los Angeles, and there was nothing even near this. So I got into the habit of buying a lot of stuff online. And what I'm finding is stuff that I bought online and paid full price is amply available at Ollie's, like the Fantastic Four Marvel Legends figures. And I bought all that stuff when it came out. I'm like, man, Fantastic Four, I'm going hard on Fantastic Four. I wasted money. They're $5, $9 each. I could have got every single one of them. I've even seen the Thing on clearance. So it's like, man, I really regret paying full price. And that's what Ollie's is doing to me, is it's making me second guess what is a day one purchase and what is a Ollie's purchase. For like example, I like Marvel Legends enough that I want to pick up, my favorite heroes, but a couple B-list characters. If they show up at Ollie's, then I'll buy them. Like US Agent, I picked him up because I thought he was a cool toy. But this just makes me want to wait.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same thing with those retro Walmart 4-inch Joes that they had for a while. I was buying them every time I could find them. And then I heard that they were at Ross, and so I just started going around to all the Rosses because they've been out of Walmart for so long. It's weird that they're showing up at Ross now, and these his tanks are showing up at Ollie's now. We're talking 3 years. It's been about 3 years since they stopped producing those, roughly.
Oh, okay.
So that just seems to be a real big gap versus this classified stuff showing up immediately.
But I wonder where this stuff sits for all these years too. Like in the years that you're like, oh, this came out 3 years ago. It's like, who is paying rent and taxes on thousands of old things that just didn't sell? Because that's got to come out of a company's bottom line. So
yeah, just like with the Funko Pops, right? It was more fiscally responsible for them to just bury all that shit in the landfill than keep paying for the warehouse space. So they just dumped it all.
I don't understand Funko Pops. Like, I don't get the appeal. They're ugly. They all look the same. And it's like all your favorite pop culture properties have better merchandise for roughly the same price. So whatever. I'll get off my Apple card or box, but
yeah, no, but I'm totally with you. Dragon Reborn says, I would have thought that figure was an army builder. No, yes, it is an army builder. The thing is that this stuff is showing up at the discount chains, but a lot of times it doesn't show up at the regular stores, or it bypasses a lot of regions. Like, it's been known that I can't really necessarily speak for Mattel. I know that 2-pack, that Faces of Evil or whatever with Keldor, was really hard for people to find for a while, and then they sort of fixed that. But Hasbro has been known to have piss poor distribution And we're talking long before the pandemic. You're talking like 2016, 17. And then if you
Mhm.
want to go back even further, like Jeff, you said yourself, you used to always do your videos at Toys R Us. When they made G.I. Joe a Toys R Us exclusive brand, that pretty much destroyed any distribution chain with this IP specifically because it all just went to Toys R Us. And then when Toys R Us went under, they had to try to, sort of pick up the pieces and move forward after that. But you just don't see this stuff. It just doesn't show up.
Mm-mm.
And then Ravenwitch 66 says every Walmart near me still has full pegs of Lady J, Baroness, Destro, Gung Ho, retro carded figures. Yeah, those are the peg warmers. Still haven't seen Storm Shadow, Zartan, Snake Eyes, or the Crimson Guard. So yeah. So it's kind of one of those things. Robert's Infinite Realms. Nope, never saw Crimson Guard. Saw a retro one last week. Was the first. So yeah. But see, everybody's saying the same thing. I don't see any of these at Walmart or Target. And Chronically says the distribution is so bad, I don't know how you can count on any of that. Yeah, agreed.
No, I don't either. Like, I always sympathize with other collectors because it's like I do what I do to get my stuff, and I can't imagine what it's like to have to go extra miles to find your stuff because it's like it's frustrating because it's a hobby,
Yeah.
it's fun, but when they add extra layers of difficulty, it just I don't know. It doesn't take away the pleasure of the actual thing. It just makes it difficult and kind of I don't
Yeah.
know makes it less of a
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah, you get a little more of that burnout. And I love the hunt. I love to hunt for toys, but sometimes it's not even a hunt. It's just that they're not around. There is no hunt. So it
Mhm.
just becomes like almost this weird frantic race, like I have to find this toy and I can't find this toy. That's not toy hunting. Toy hunting is like I go into a Walmart, you kind of get that little tingle, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna hit that toy aisle and see what's there. And sometimes every once in a while you're like, yes, that paid off. But most times in my experience, it's like crap.
When it comes to modern Mattel wrestling figures, I still get that because it's like, oh man, I heard The Rock's coming out today.
Yep.
I went to Target. Oh, there he is. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
looking for, Mr. Perfect. There's Mr. Perfect. Like Mattel, I'm not like a shill for any company. I don't have any association, but like the one toy line I buy from them, I can find it
Yep.
all the time and it's never difficult. I don't know if it's something to do with the wrestling demographic, but I don't know, wrestling's everywhere. I can find who I need.
From the outside looking in regarding the wrestling stuff from Mattel and the Masters of the Universe stuff, I find that stuff everywhere. Like Masters of the Universe, and I think this is and I don't want to say Mattel versus Hasbro, but Mattel has stuff in every store. I can go to Walgreens, I can go to Target, I can go to Walmart. Mattel's got vehicles, play sets, mounts, figures for days, wrestling stuff, Masters of the Universe stuff. It's the same thing with McFarlane. Like I can find McFarlane stuff everywhere. Or Jazzwares. When Jazzwares came out with that Halo line and I really wanted that Mantis, that mech,
Mhm.
I just immediately I went to a Target. Boop, there it was. There was a Warthog. I got them both. And I was
I
stoked.
I bought that toy line too. I bought everything I could find from it. I actually have a couple warthogs because I found one on clearance,
Yep.
real cheap, and then I got the Ghost, you name it. I bought everything. I love Halo.
And the thing is when Hasbro decided that they were going to outsource 118 scale GI Joe and they gave it to Haya, at first I thought, oh well, Haya did that rad Aliens APC. They could do some awesome stuff with Joe. And then I saw that they were just trickling out onesie twosie figures, all based on the classified aesthetic. And then I thought, it would have been rad if they gave Joe to Jazzwares because Fortnite, Halo, Jazzwares kills it. And they put stuff out like mad. But and that's where we're
Dude, the
living.
Fortnite toys over at Ollie's are crazy right now. The Hasbro ones,
Oh, I bet.
the six. I mean, like people were going nuts for that boat, and then I'm like, maybe I should get a boat because people want it. I still
Yes,
see
they
the
want to
boat.
customize it for Joe. Yeah.
If they made Miami Vice action figures in a 6-inch
Ooh.
scale, I'd buy that boat, customize it so it could have Crockett and Tubbs on it. But
Hell yeah. World Made of Cardboard says, again, my Ollie's goes by the Spaceballs quote, we ain't found shit. I had to read that one. So Brandon R. Santa Brandon sends a $5 super chat. Thank you, Brandon. Said, that's it. I'm walking to the United States and declaring refugee status. Can I couch hop with some of you fine folks for a while? Dude, if you can make it down to New Mexico, I'll put a cot in my Joe room for you. How about that? You can hang out here.
I was going to say to Brandon, if you want to make the trek to me, we'll go to Ollie's. I'll take you to all of them. We can find all the toys you're looking for.
Jeff Hicks will take you to fucking Ollie's, man. How rad would that be? That's awesome. Robert's Infinite Realm says distribution has been bad for G.I. Joe since the anniversary line minus the crappy movie lines. Yeah, and that's a whole other can of worms because they had all the anniversary stuff, 25th, foil, cartoon, 30th, Pursuit of Cobra. All of that stuff on the shelves at the same time where they were making Rise of Cobra and Retaliation figures, different aesthetic, different card art, different price points, competing against itself. It just seemed the dumbest thing that they were doing. And I would walk in a Walmart, one end cap has all anniversary stuff, one end cap has movie line stuff. And then, you're making people choose. I never really understood that. Just for the record, AbsorbVid enjoys the hunts. Good. Glad you enjoy the hunt. Okay, so yeah, that's all the Crimson Guards. And again, army builders piled up where people can't get them. And then here's a bunch of Zoranas. That's, that's deep. It's very, very deep. Drew G's here says, what's up, Chad and Jeff? Love your channel, Jeff. It's great when I see you in toy community streams. Always a pleasure.
Well, thank Chad for having me. Guys, I love to talk toys and all sorts of stuff. So just tell people where you want WCBS to show up and, say it 3 times and I'll show up like Beetlejuice.
Hell yeah, man. I'm going to look in the mirror. And then you just appear behind me like, let's go to Ollie's.
Yeah.
And then here's some more Zoranas and Dusties. And someone earlier in the chat, when we first started talking about Ollie, said, I can never find a Dusty. There's all your Dusties right there. Stephen S. Doesn't Zorana fall apart? Yes, there's a QC issue with her arm. It was the same QC issue that they had with CoverGirl. Same arm was popping off. But I don't know, whatever. Buyer beware. You're buying Hasbro shit. I'm a hater, apparently. So, just because I don't want to see people buy figures where the limbs fall off or the accessories are bent, I guess that makes me a hater.
Can we talk about that for just a quick second, though? Because I don't understand the mentality of, like, look, folks, we're all collectors. We love what we buy. I get excited to pick up Spider-Man or The Rock or somebody. But when a company does it poorly or does something wrong, I'm not going to go to bat for a company and also attack other people when, like, you and I are just talking about, the quality control of this figure. You're just a hater. Like, for me personally, I don't buy McFarlane toys because I have an issue with some of the reuse and I think they're ugly figures for the most part. And if people, like, for example, the Michael Keaton Batman. Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman. I think that suit from the first movie is a piece of art and I don't like any deviation from it. And I don't think McFarlane made a good figure based on it. And everybody wants to attack, you're a hater, you're this and you're that. And they, like, get really emotional about these toy companies like they're gonna receive a dividend at the end of the year. And I never understand why people will, like, ferociously attack other people who are talking about it, because it's not taken away from your pleasure. I think we live in this society where everyone thinks everything needs to be positive 100% of the time, and really, in reality, we're just having a discussion about stuff. Also, too, we are customers just like they are, and we have the same rights. So I just can't get behind that whole, like, you have to like it 100%. You can't talk anything bad about it. It's perfect the way it is. Nothing's perfect. Your favorite figure has paint flaws on it, but it's good enough.
And absolutely, I've been trying to understand, and sometimes I guess I just have to concede that people are just going to people. But you get these people, and they get this weird, like, brand loyalty thing where, I talk about things like, Marauder Gun Runners and Eagle Force from Fresh Monkey Fiction. Well, that's not G.I. Joe. And I'm like, well, no, it's not G.I. Joe, but Hasbro stopped making G.I. Joe in the scale that I collect, so they told me to go away. Plus, what's wrong with having peripheral toy lines anyway? Like, when we were all kids, we played with Mask and Masters of the Universe and GoBots and Transformers and G.I. Joe all at the same time, and nobody cared. But now it's like this weird brand loyalty thing. We're like, well, if you support Valaverse, then you're a hater because you don't support Classified. It's like, where does that come from? Like, it's this thing where because the internet gives everybody a voice, and we live in this like social media age where half the people want to belong. They want that dopamine rush of like, yeah, I'm in the cool kids club because I'm one of the first people to get this classified figure and I can, get a bunch of likes for it. And then the other people want you to justify like their purchases. Like, I'm not here to validate what you like or don't like. I mean, I don't care what you like. But if I point out that like these figures come with like gummy bent accessories or their limbs fall off, that's like saying that, like NECA toys used to be made out of glass. That's accurate. I mean, it's exaggeration, but they
I
would
get
fall
what you're
apart.
saying, though.
Yeah. But
I'm
but
not
these
the
people
biggest
like you
supporter of them,
can't.
so
Yeah, but like you can't criticize a thing. Criticizing a thing, it doesn't make you a hater. It means that you want to see it be better because you know that they can do better. It,
exactly.
it's the apathetic people like Gina Carano just slapped that dude down the other day. It the people who criticize something, they love it and they want it to be as great as it can be. It's constructive. It's not negative. Like you choose to take it negatively. It's when people stop talking about it, that's when you have a problem.
Exactly.
Ahsoka. Mm.
Dude, I and Loki. I forgot Loki was even on the air. I'm doing preparation for our stream tomorrow and this Marvel video I'm going to make. And they're like, Loki season finale is on the 9th of November. I went, oh wait, Loki was on. Like I have this stuff. I don't even think about it. And
Yeah,
to jump onto your point though about people wanting it better, I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the reason I got into art and do my comics.
right.
I have a million and one critiques of the modern Marvel Spider-Man figures from Hasbro. I don't like the sculpt. I don't like this. I don't like the reuse. Believe me, that doesn't mean I don't like Spider-Man and won't support Spider-Man in some other form or fashion. I have just found, as we'll use Hasbro as an example, as they continue to drop the ball with Legends, I go to Mayfex. I have Hot Toys. Like for
Yep.
me, when you were talking about the way you collect, I collect a specific character. So like I mentioned Spider-Man or The Rock or Han Solo. I will
Mhm.
go to the nth degree to get the best version every time. Like especially with the wrestling ones, they keep getting better. Like I was
Yeah.
a kid, 20 years ago playing with these things and they looked fine, they looked realistic, but now they look photorealistic. And I'll keep coming back. Somehow Hasbro, they can't catch up with like their Indiana Jones line. I thought that was a pretty disappointing toy line. The new one that
Yeah.
just came out. I
Right.
thought the '08 one was great. But like for some reason they're just not bringing it. And to be called a hater because I don't think Indiana Jones needs to be super shiny from head to toe, I'll take the criticism. Screw it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree with you. The 2008 indie line was fantastic, but that was also in that time frame. The mid aughts was when Hasbro was bulletproof on everything. Transformers, all their GI Joe stuff, the anniversary stuff. It was before the first movie. Star Wars, they were making every like background peripheral character. Oh yeah, remember that stupid droid that you saw for 0.2 seconds? Bam, here's that droid. Like the dude with the freaking ice cream maker, from
Real
Empire,
Hood.
who's running down the hall. They were making everything for all of their IPs and they were just killing it. And now it's like, I don't know if we're going backwards per se. I don't want to say that because I'm not too knowledgeable on all of this stuff, but it's like, here's another Jedi Luke, and every once in a while you see one that was pretty damn good, and then a new one comes out. You're like, this head sculpt is 10 times worse than a head sculpt from 5 years ago. They're
Yeah.
just kind of going back and forth. I don't know, but Wilhelm says to save myself the heartache, I run every toy by Chad to see if it's okay to like it. Yeah, you always have to have a Chad in your life. Somebody needs a Chad. So, and I like this comment a lot. Robert's Infinite Realm says, I actually like watching people talk about toy lines I don't collect. I learn and get to understand another's interests. I agree. Um,
Same.
my life doesn't just revolve around GI Joe. I mean, it's what I like to collect. It's kind of like my number one passion, but I love talking about all sorts of stuff.
And I don't collect GI Joe, and I find it fascinating to hear you or the three POA guys. I'll tune into these shows, and they may spend a chunk on GI Joe, but that's
Mhm.
cool with me because it's still toys. It's still
Yeah,
related to what we're all into,
yeah,
especially if you collect
absolutely.
other Hasbro lines.
Yep. And then Jason says Gina Carano is savage this week. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been following that. I gotta make some content about that, but
Those
I missed out on her Cara Dune figure, and I wanted to get it because I bought the Mandalorian, but on the aftermarket, she's still kind of pricey.
You don't have any Cara Dune?
No, when I was living out west when the Mandalorian dropped, I was, California rent's way more expensive, so I minimized what I was collecting. And then the
Yeah.
pandemic hit, and you couldn't find anything anymore. So,
Yep. Yeah, we'll chat about that afterward. We'll talk about that
cool.
offline. So
Thank you.
I kind of got a surplus of Cara Dune stuff. As soon as they said that they were going to stop making her, I bought it all up. So yeah, yeah. As soon as we go off air, we'll chat about that. But all right, so Dusty and Zorana, there you go, and then here's some more Dusties, Zoranas. But one thing to notice on the left side of these pegs, and this is where we're going to kind of change the conversation a little to expand on other themes. Cara Dune action figures still hold value. Yeah, they do. That's why I bought them all up. So here you can see the fan channel Sergeant Slaughter with the Adam Rich's card art. So this was not in regular retail stores. This is also where it really started getting on my radar, specifically as someone who doesn't really collect classified. Nay, I could say I don't even believe in it, but that's just me. That's for myself. And then here's a whole case of them. But these are fan channel toys, right? These weren't at Walmart or Target. Why are they showing up at Ollie's? Here's some more. So this is the Viper 3-pack. And ironically, Jeff, Hasbro sent me one of these in the mail.
Oh.
They just mailed me one, and I gave it away on a live stream.
Ooh.
Yeah, thanks, Hasbro, for sending me that Viper 3-pack for no reason. So I started paying more and more attention to this, and people started talking about it. Hey, these are fan channels, and the Sarge was really hard for a lot of people to find. And then you get even further into the weeds. That's the friggin' Fortnite Snake Eyes at Ollie's.
Huh.
Right. So this is all fan channel stuff. And then here's a fucking Target exclusive at Ollie's. And Ross. Ross is seeing these too. So this one's Ross. You can see the label on the top of it. But I was wondering, why are these things showing up at Ross and Ollie's? And then I got to give a shout out to Char Palmatier from the 3POA group, because he said that GameStop, Ross, TJ Maxx, and Marshalls are all under the same corporate umbrella. That I didn't know. And so because all of them are under the same corporate umbrella, then they can get access to the fan channel stuff that GameStop was able to get a hold of.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's actually the answer. GameStop is kind of their segue into these showing up at Ross and Ollie's. But those are all fan channel items. Well, except for this one. This was an exclusive. I'll back up. Fan channel, actually. Well, yeah. So there's your exclusives, which is crazy.
I see a lot of Walmart exclusives, and had been seeing them since back in the day at Ollie's for Star Wars stuff like Solo. They had this big play set, and it says printed on the box, Walmart exclusive.
Yep.
Do you remember those 12-inch like shampoo bottle style Star Wars figures that came out?
Yes.
They had like a C-3PO and BB-8 and something else, and it had a Target sticker or a Walmart sticker printed on the box. And I was just like, oh, I guess exclusives don't matter to here either. So
these his tanks are Walmart exclusive.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen those as far as like Louisville, Kentucky. So
yep. The all that 4-inch retro stuff that they put out, that was all Walmart exclusive. And then fan channel, Target exclusive, Walmart exclusive right here. So that's a lot of retro histories. And that's Walmart. So you get all your exclusives. And then Gojatron says Walmart exclusive Transformers showing up at Ross, Target exclusives, Transformers at TJ Maxx. Big box distribution is broken. Well, again, they apparently they have the right to get them. And then Stephen S is asking, will the Vamp end up there? I don't know, but the Vamp is online only, correct? That's what I was tracking. Steven, I don't know. Answer me. From what I'm tracking, that classified scale vamp and clutch is online only.
Is it not the out myself as not knowing a bunch? Is that car or whatever the vehicle that they're doing now? It's got like a retractable tow cable and all that. I think I saw a live stream about it. Okay.
Yeah, the 4-wheel drive vehicle that's based on the Lamborghini Cheetah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's that one, yeah. AZ Toy Hunters. Did you answer me if that's Arizona? And maybe I missed it because we got a lot of people hanging out, and it's just me. I'm just doing this by myself. Said I found the Walmart exclusive Power Rangers at Ross. Yep. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Media Clash says that the Vamp is a Pulse exclusive. I don't know if online only would show up at Ollie's. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I picked up a lot of those Power Ranger. My complaint with what Hasbro did was they wanted $50 for the villains, the monsters. One, some of them weren't fully painted, and two, they're not worth $49. But I got one for $5.99 the other day, and I was like, "This is the right price for some of this stuff." But I mean, I would assume that the Pulse exclusives, they're produced by Hasbro. They sit off site for them, and they ship them out through their website.
Right.
I'll tell you this: I would be very angry if I went to Ollie's and I found the Spider-Man VHS figures from Hasbro Pulse.
Oh yeah.
Because those are $50 for a 2-pack. And I was like, that's the only way you can get Aunt May and, some of these other figures. Again, if I have my trust betrayed, and I know that sounds crazy, but as a consumer, if I find myself, if I can just muster the patience to get it for 80% cheaper, I'm going to start doing that. And my collecting dollars are going to go to international brands like Mafex or stuff like that, where I get higher end stuff anyway.
Yeah, because you're going to see that shit. Because now you just jinxed yourself. So you're going to see that at Ollie's for like $15. And you're just gonna you're just gonna walk away angry.
You know what I'll do is I'll buy another one to open up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, might as well buy it. AZ Toy Hunter says yes, it's Arizona. Hey man, cool. I'm right next door in New Mexico. What's up? Southwest US Unite. And Jeremy Kerr says we have so much candy left over. Okay. I had so many trick-or-treaters, I was raiding my friggin' pantry. Like, I ran out of candy. Because on the base where I live, you only have specific hours that you can trick or treat. And it's literally like you cannot start until 5 o'clock and you must be done by 8 o'clock. That's it. Like, they have foot patrols out, even with their military working dogs in all the villages. It's very safe. But if they see a kid trick or treating after 8 o'clock, like they literally chase them down. And I was waiting for 8 o'clock to come because I'd get a bunch of kids and then I'd come back in the house and I would just find what I could in the pantry and I'd throw it in the sack and I'd run back outside and I'd go through that and then I'd run back inside. It sucked. It was rad, but it sucked. And
it was cold here for Halloween, so I was bundled up at a little /Halloween party / trick or treat thing. Yeah, I was freezing.
Oh yeah, I had my my crazy slasher jumpsuit on, but I had a hoodie underneath it and I had the hood up and I had like sweatpants on underneath it. Yeah. I was living large though. Stephen S. Can we please see a Cat's Lair end up at Ollie's? Oh man, the Super 7 Cat's Lair. Did you see that thing, Jeff?
I did. Like I had said to you earlier, that is part of the era that's right before my time. So Thundercats doesn't really hit any kind of nostalgia, but I always pay attention to what's coming out. Because like I always say on my show, the one toy I want is an Axel Foley action figure from Beverly Hills Cop, and it never is going to get made. So I joke, and I'll say, like, they'll make literally anything. And I'm always thinking Super 7's going to be the company that'll make it one day. So I follow them on social media across the board. And even I wanted to buy that play set. I was like, this is cool, man. Because I like art, and I like the cartoons of the 80s, and I've considered getting, like, the Thundercats Super 7 line because it kind of looks like the animation. But then I've seen Super 7 toys in person, and so I canceled my Power Rangers backlog because I don't think they look as good in person as they do online. So,
right. That's something else we're going to discuss when we get off air. I'm taking notes. So, Axel Foley and Cara Dune. I got an Axel Foley for you. It's 4-inch, but I got an Axel Foley for you.
Hey, Axel Foley's good at any scale, so.
Yeah, and I know that you're such an Axel Foley fan that you wouldn't care. Like, well, actually, Chad, I don't want it because it's not 6-inch. Thank you. And
Dude,
Johnny from, go ahead.
I was gonna say I collect any scale if it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Johnny from Simple Tricks and Nonsense. What is up, brother? Says it's hard to pass up stuff in the wild for cheap. Damn straight. And that's why we saw at the beginning of our informative slideshow, you're welcome, that Hasbro is down, but Ollie's is up. But Hasbro being down has a lot to do with other factors as well, and we're going to kind of get into that. So JLS Comics says, this all makes me question my pre-order choices. Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't pre-order shit. I know that that's kind of how the world is now, that toys aren't really for kids anymore, even though when you say something about, the QC of a toy, people say, well, these toys are for kids. So, but they're not, they're not for kids.
Oh,
they're
no.
not in brick and mortar stores. They don't really have media that goes along with it. Not everything, but a lot of stuff. And then Georgie says, Pulse has a clearance section now. It's the price it was pre-bug. Yes, they do. For a while, Pulse had these Hiss tanks on there. I don't know if they still do, but I don't go looking at Hasbro's website all the time. So
I have their app. That's about it.
Yeah. And then James Lucas said, Chad giving kids raisins and cans of SpaghettiOs.
Dude, SpaghettiOs are legit. I'd have been happy.
Yeah, especially if it's a pop-top can of SpaghettiOs, because then you can eat it anywhere. Eat it cold.
Just walk and eat it.
Walking home, eating your SpaghettiOs, like, oh man, that's a win.
Yeah.
And it was like granola bars and stuff. AZ Toy Hunters Guild says, wasn't there talk about Hasbro lowering production by 30%?
I think I had seen that. Like, I think there's validity to that because I've just been wanting to make a lot of video related stuff, but I've just been busy. And I saw that pop up and I'm like, yeah, wow, okay. So I guess they're paying attention to how everything else in the world's finally going. So, because it seems like Hasbro just would put their foot on the gas and overproduce because they thought the power of these brands was enough to circumvent real world issues.
But the power of some of these brands really rests in the keepers of the IPs and not Hasbro. So, I mean, we can get into that right now because yes, Hasbro is lowering production, but they had a poor third quarter. They're already saying that their fourth quarter is going to be poor because again, they're targeting adult collectors. They're targeting these deep pocket people who suffer from FOMO, the whole psychology of collecting, that will just buy any and everything. Like no one was asking for a tan friggin' Snake Eyes until they made a tan Snake Eyes. And then people were like, well, I got to buy it because they made it. I'm going to buy it because for some reason, I think I have to be a completionist and I'm going to buy, Caramel Crunch fucking Snake Eyes. But at the same time, all of these partner brands, right? So everything that's licensed to Hasbro is referred to as a partner brand. That's all your Disney stuff. Indiana Jones, Star Wars, which, Star Wars should be the friggin' cash cow. Everything Marvel and stuff like that. That's all partner brands. They are not owned by Hasbro. They're not franchise brands or IPs that Hasbro owns outright. The partner brands, they rely on the media that makes these things popular. So you have, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all the Disney Plus shows, the same with Star Wars and things like that. But if you look at the quality of all the stuff that's been going on with Marvel, so you've got, She-Hulk and Miss Marvel, and now the Marvels is coming out. And I'm sure, Jeff, you've seen all the projections about what that pile's going to do or not do.
Yeah. I mean,
right. And then you got Dial of Destiny.
Marvel clearance soon.
Oh, God. Yeah. And then you've got Dial of Destiny, Rise of Skywalker, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Andor, this just kind of the Eternals, right? Just this kind of crap. It's, it's not. They kind of take this approach of like some guys that I have in the infantry with me where they really believe in this thing called accuracy by volume, where they just throw as much as they can. And they think like, yeah, we're going to nail it because we just throw everything we can at it. It doesn't mean that you're accurate. It just means that you're throwing a lot of stuff downrange. It doesn't mean you're going to hit anything. And then Roll Keeper says, I got no one. Oh, we're talking about trick or treaters, as you were. So JMK. So this is Mikey. JMK Custom Works. Hit up Matt LaCroix. He does an incredible Axel Foley. That's what I was talking about, Mikey. Thank you. Keep that to yourself. So yeah. But anyway, our buddy Matt LaCroix, he does figures for everything. If you want an Apollo Creed from Rocky IV just before he gets his neck broken, Matt LaCroix. So he makes all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I need to get hooked up with all these people too, because a lot of the weird customs I want are like pre-existing things that I want modified. So if there's people out there that know how to do that stuff too, it's like, can you alter the paint on this to change it to look like that? I'll pay whatever you need.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's Matt LaCroix, and a lot of it's Mikey too from JMK Custom Works. We'll talk all that shop when we're done. And because I love people in my chat, I got an offer here. Chronicling Online says he's got 4 inches for me. Yeah. They're going to give it to me 4 times. Ooh.
Burn.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And then, yeah, everybody's talking about Matt LaCroix and how Matt LaCroix is the best. See, here's a good point. This is why I love JLS Comics. Hasbro's Q1 was horrible too. Remember when they laid off 1,000 employees? I do. And then like the day after, they were bragging about how they were having a Valentine's sale, and they were like, nothing spells LOVE love like buying Hasbro shit. And I was like, nothing spells love like not laying off all your employees.
Yeah.
Oof, bad. Here's a good comment. Oh, wait, hold on. That's what she said. And Johnny from Simple Tricks and Nonsense says 2019 was really the cliff for Marvel and Star Wars. After Endgame and Episode 9, how can you go bigger? How can you maintain that enthusiasm and momentum? You can't, and COVID helped put the nails in the coffin. Yeah, that's a very measured response.
I agree with that 100%, especially as a fan, somebody that was like on board every midnight release for the MCU. It just felt like it was done. You're like, wow, that was cool. That was the greatest 22 movie story arc I've ever seen. I'm done. What else is there?
Yeah.
Like even Spider-Man felt like it was kind of passe after that.
Yeah, there was like nothing after Endgame. I wasn't really big on the whole time travel aspect that they really leaned on for Endgame, but I thought Infinity War was just great. Even the way they tied in the Guardians, and I was like, man, I don't know how the Guardians of the Galaxy are really going to intermingle with these other characters, but they did a really good job with it. And the thing about, Rise of Skywalker is you had the people who were kind of on board for Force Awakens, even though it was pretty much a shot-for-shot rehash of New Hope, or reimagining. And then you had the people with, The Last Jedi, where it just broke everything in half. And you had the people who loved it, and then the people who were like, you ruined Luke Skywalker, you destroyed hyperspace, like blah, 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 blah. You know all the arguments, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then Rise of Skywalker basically tried so hard to make everybody happy that it made nobody happy. And you're just like, oh, these ships can't tell which way is up. All right, okay, whatever. Yeah.
That, dude, real quick though, to go back on what you're saying, I just wanted to agree with you. I prefer Infinity War over Endgame. Unpopular opinion, I don't really like Endgame that much. I don't think Endgame is the be-all, end-all that a lot of people... I thought it was a kind of an ugly, muddy mess for what was supposed to be the ultimate finale. They're in upstate New York, and it's just like a blown-out building. Like, the other one had a much more spectacular end battle between Wakanda and, what are they, on Titan. The bad guy won, and it was an awesome ending. I'm in the minority. I'd have preferred that they actually took the 5-year gap. Instead of giving us the movie the next year, do a real-time 5-year gap where you pick your heroes and you release these movies waiting and waiting and waiting. And look, the pandemic was going to happen no matter what. If you had that on the horizon and you still had these other movies, people would still have something to look forward to. And then after the 5-year window, boom, they'd be back. But no, they got to, give people their fixes right away.
You gotta milk that cat, Greg. You gotta get in there and milk the cat.
God, I love that movie.
No, I'm totally with you on that. I think that, it's kind of the same argument. Like, well, they knew Carrie Fisher died. and you still killed Luke Skywalker. It's like,
I mean,
that's a bold move, Cotton. I don't know.
it didn't pay off. And with all due respect to her, I thought it would have made much more sense to actually have her die in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Because like she had passed away a year before. It's not like she had like Lance Reddick, the actor from John Wick, he died like weeks before John Wick, and then he died in the movie. And I was just like, oh man, that guy just died. That's kind of like a 1-2 hit punch or hard punch. Yeah. Well, with Carrie Fisher, she had passed away over a year prior, and it made sense. What does her character even do in the next movie? Nothing. Like they really, and the reason I'm bringing up those two is because all, like you said, with the Hasbro brands and these partner brands, what is made from other companies is what dictates a lot of these toy sales and these things. Yep. You kill off Han, Luke, and Leia, so you've turned off people like me. I'm not going to buy them anymore because they're dead. I know that's a weird mentality to have, but I just don't buy toys based on dead characters. It's like, no, I want them to still be kind of alive in my memory. It took me forever to get another Han Solo.
Yeah. And then even when Luke comes around at the finale of season 2 of Mandalorian and breaks the damn Disney Plus app, and then they were like, we're just going to leave him dead. It's cool. He's just dead. Okay. But that's where the whole partner brand thing really hurts Hasbro. It's not so much what Hasbro's doing wrong. Yes, their distribution is no good. And we're seeing that. Ross, Ollie's, TJ Maxx, that's kind of all stuff that we're putting into this conversation with visual references. Thank you. But at the same time, it's really the partner brands because they're shackled to these companies like Disney, and they can't get away from it. They wanted the deals, and so now they just have to lie in that bed with them. And I'm going to show a couple of statistics here in a minute, but you can see how it's really hurting them. And then there's something very interesting about franchise brands that I'm going to talk about as well. But our good friend Mo just got here and said, "Good evening. I will have to watch this on replay. Stupid work got in the way of the stream. You know what, man? Life happens, but thanks for popping in, brother." And then Mikey says, "You can't silence me, you virtual wizard bully." Yes, I can, because I'm toxic. And then my good friend from the Great White North of Canada is here. What's up, Jay Bartlett? It's good to see you, brother. Thanks for being here. Oh, do you have any input on this? The Blade movie seems to be in trouble now. I've been watching little pieces, parts on that.
So I've been reading the big article that everyone is referencing right now, and I'm going to make a video about that too to give you our take. But
yeah,
the whole, like, they wanted it to focus on women, and Blade would have been a background character. That would have just given more fuel to the fire that is the internet community. But I think this is the chance for them to realize, like, let me just get real for a second. They wanted to make Black Panther this big cultural event for, let's just say, Black comic book fans. Blade was that character for this generation. Black Panther was so passé by the 90s. I didn't even know who the hell Black Panther was going into the 90s. He wasn't around. A lot of these characters that Marvel has made big in the MCU or who are historically relevant to the Marvel greater scale, they really weren't doing a lot in the 90s. In the 90s, it was Spider-Man and the X-Men from Marvel. You had Ghost Rider a little bit in The Punisher. Those were their big characters. Blade came out of nowhere. Realistically, like, he was in the cartoon, he had his own books, but he wasn't doing a ton. And that really brought so many people into that. Blade should be treated with the same level of reverence that they want to make Black Panther about this fictional African country. Because, like, Blade is what mattered to people. Like, we all liked Blade. Wesley Snipes was cool. Those movies kicked ass.
Yeah.
And so to, like, make Blade something else, Blade should be like John Wick or any of these other action heroes. Just give him his sword, have him kick ass, and let's just go. You can do, hell, I'm in the minority. Bring Wesley Snipes back. Sorry, Mahershala Ali. You're a good actor. You'll be fine. But, dude, one more run as Wesley Snipes Blade, or a couple, because he still looks pretty good. Like, we don't care if the superhero is old. Robert Downey Jr. is in his 50s. Tobey Maguire's in his late 40s. Maybe he's 52. Like, we're cool with these iconic guys coming back to play their roles, so they don't need to be 25-year-old guys. Look at Ben Affleck. He was 40-something playing Batman, and he was cool. So
he was so good. He was so good. That warehouse fight scene in Batman v Superman. Oh, I could watch that 100 times in a row. But
it's the best part of that movie.
Oh yeah, it's so good. It's straight out of the Arkham games too. Like, he just stomps ass when he throws the crate at that guy's head.
Yes.
Love it. I love it. Oh, there was a comment here. Oh yeah, here you go. Do a Kathleen Kennedy, change the character of a woman and make her gay. So that's that whole South Park thing that everybody's talking about right now. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. There was another comment. TF Bricks, what's up? Says, I'm glad Ollie's has these Hiss tanks for $13. Now I'm able to do customs with them. Absolutely. As another huge fan of customizing Hiss tanks, I completely back that. Oh, and then here you go. Here's another obscure reference for you, Jeff. It's going to be like Demolition Man. In the future, all stores will be Ollie's.
I just watched this last night, actually.
That's all you get.
What a great day.
Be like, we're going to go to Ollie's. Ollie's?
They got good stuff cheap.
Yeah. All stores are Ollie's now. 3POA, what's up? I guess this is still Ryan on your other account. Either way, thanks for hanging out. Says, it's time for Blade to hand the sword down to a gay, diverse woman. Yeah.
You know what'll happen if Blade hands his sword down to that gay, diverse woman, right?
She'll be better than him immediately?
No, her handle will explode. Remember, Blade's got that.
Oh, yeah.
His blade is customized to him. Her handle blow off.
Man, I got his pig sticker. Yeah. But that first Blade movie, you said a lot of passionate stuff about Blade. That first Blade movie, it wasn't far removed from like your Batman and Robin and all those cheesy comic book movies and, the Stallone Dread and things like that, where everything had to be campy and dumb and watered down. And then came the Wesley Snipes Blade movie, and that movie was serious. Like just the rave at the beginning, you know what you're getting into when you watch that movie. And you got porn stars in there trying to eat people, and everybody just gets slaughtered. Great movie.
It's when an R rating meant something,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. What's your opinion on this? Dolph Lundgren is the best Punisher.
Oh, I disagree. I like Thomas Jane. I really do like him a lot. I didn't like Ray Stevenson, and I didn't even like the movie Punisher Warzone. It was fine, but I'm a thumbs up to that 2004 director's cut of the Punisher. You can't watch the theatrical cut. Gotta watch the director's cut that explains why his partner turned on him and how certain things happen. If you watch that version, that to me is the best Punisher movie.
The only thing I didn't like about the Thomas Jane Punisher is that, like, why is it in Miami? Like to me, the Punisher being in New York and the whole like clandestine organization that helps him, and all this stuff and all his gadgets, to me, that was like a big part of the Punisher lore. And then you put him in Miami, and I was like, I liked it for what it was, but at the same time, I kind of wanted the Punisher.
I was hoping he would have done more because it felt like his mission in Miami was set up. Right. Two things about that movie. One, it seemed like they were going to set up for a lot more. And two, it almost felt like he had come to terms with everything. He's like, well, my family's dead, but I've avenged them. Howard Saint's dead. I've destroyed his organization. I almost feel like when I watched that movie, like he's just going to go be a dude and not punish anymore. He feels like he's accomplished his mission.
Punisher 2, fly fishing. Yeah. Just like in Montana somewhere, like, I'm good with this. This is cool. It's fine.
I miss my wife, but this is awesome.
Yeah. And then David Andrews, what's up, guys? What's going on, dude? How you doing?
How's it going?
Dragon Reborn says those are the best kind of raves with porn stars and murder. Yeah. Can I say that word? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. And then TF Brick says Blade Trinity had Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, chef's kiss for just those three or those two. I liked Ryan Reynolds in it. He was Ryan Reynolds, just being mouthy. Well,
I like Triple H as the bad guy. I mean, that's my wrestling coming out, but hey.
Yeah. I will say though, Trinity kind of got into that point where you're putting too many layers in things where you're adding extra characters for bringing in a new audience. Ryan Reynolds' character is straight mortal. He's not like Blade. He's not a half-breed. When a vampire punches a mortal, like he should have just exploded. And so I tried to take it for what it was, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, man. He would have ripped that dude in half like a phone book.
But he's got plot armor. It's okay.
Yeah. Everybody's got plot armor these days. And I was going to bring this up when you were talking about the Punisher director's cut. It's just like watching the director's cut of Daredevil.
Yep.
The one with Ben Affleck.
I got that on Blu-ray.
I'm a big fan of that movie on director's cut.
Same.
Yep. Wasn't Commando filmed in Miami? I don't know. It starts in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Major Matrix is out there carrying trees.
Jenny.
What about John Bernthal? What are your thoughts?
Thumbs up. Bought the action figure. Watched, was it 1 or 2 seasons of his show? Watched
2,
everything.
because the second one had Jigsaw.
Okay.
I'm air quoting Jigsaw.
I watched it all. I love the Punisher. I grew up in this weird window of time where, like, yes, the Marvel characters were all popular to some degree, but like Punisher was on tons of merchandise in the early 90s. The old Toy Biz, like before any cartoons existed, Toy Biz made all those Marvel figures. Punisher had a talking Punisher, a regular Punisher. Punisher, Hulk, and Spider-Man were just everywhere.
Do you remember that horrible Punisher toy where the gun came out of his torso and looked like a...
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
One of the like horrible toys that everyone talks about, that Punisher.
I mean, it's that level of bad, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't necessarily have beef with Bernthal as the Punisher. My only issue is that all he does is get his face kicked in constantly. He's just kind of like Rocky in that respect. Like he just keeps getting up. I don't really see him as like this. He's not like this super tactician that, you know, the Punisher is supposed to be. He's just like a brawler. And I'm not against it, but you know, the Punisher, like in the comics, you know, he would slip into somebody's limo and like stab him and be like, yeah, if you remove that, blah, blah, you know, like John Wick. If you go to pull that out, like you're going to bleed to death in like 2 seconds, let's have a conversation so you can make it to the hospital. And this one's just like, oh, he's just like punching and screaming all the time.
That's the one part I didn't like was there was like a weird window of time where they just didn't know how to portray certain types of heroes, and he falls into that category. I do want my Punisher to be, I don't want to say smarter, because I'm not trying to like ding the character or the guy, but like you said, he's a tactician. I want to believe that he knows what Microchip is actually talking about, not just, oh, I pressed the button and it blows up. Good, got it. No, like I want to believe that, you know, Frank Castle is as slick and can, you know, he's a hero for a reason. He's not just ex-military or some angry guy looking for vengeance. He's, you know,
he's not just murdering everything.
No, that's for Punisher, the Max comic books. Those are much different. Yeah.
Jeremy says the Hiss Tank 3 just showed up in my area. Very cool. And now we're kind of all over the map here, and that's totally fine. And then
it's fun this way, man.
Commando was filmed in California. Man, cool.
It's a good
George Aiken says only seen that Punisher toy on Analog Toys worst toy action figures. Yep. Yeah, that's a thing. Catching up with the I mean, I know he's trying to say what's her face, like the vernacular, but the way that he puts it, Steven says, I will say what's her puss was hot in Blade 3. Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy says, I stopped at Ross the other day and picked up 4 of the retro Cobra Troopers from a few years back. I believe those were Walmart exclusives. Yeah, absolutely. Same with the Hiss Tank. Those are all Walmart exclusives. Yep. And then JLS says the scene in Warzone where the Punisher blows up the parkour guy is awesome. Yeah. Ray Stevens, right? Rest in peace.
Let me go back and rewatch that movie before I put my final stamp of opinion on it, because it's been literally a decade since I've seen it.
I only watched it when it first came out, and that was kind of it, but whatever. All right. And then so Ollie's gets the cases, and I know you know what I'm talking about here, Jeff, and they just kind of cut around the cases, right? And they use the bottom of the cases to stack them. To me, this is egregious. Look at that.
Yeah.
They just cut right through it.
I know they're
I'm an opener, but at the same time, like I still appreciate box art.
Same. I love whoever the artist is or artists that did the retro G.I. Joe cards. I think those are some of the coolest looking toy boxes of all time. I just love the vibrant color and the realistic proportions and all that fun stuff. So G.I. Joe boxes are always on my radar. And every time I see a crunched up or destroyed toy, I go, ugh, because it's like, No kid wants that, and that thing will probably never be sold. And it's just like, oh, there it lies forever.
And it's, it's all art. Like the toys are art, the package art to me, like box art, card art, all that stuff. It's obviously this is where toys are at their maximum competition, where they're on the aisles, where they're on the shelves, and they have to compete with all these other brands. But at the same time, you shouldn't be the one that's destroying the box. Like, let the kid take it home and tear it open or something. But damn,
Yeah,
it's just somebody sent me this picture. I think it was my friend Joe Ricondo, and I was like, oh man, that's terrible. But a lot of people sent me these images, and I really have to thank everybody for sending me those. And then V Conley says, yeah, they butchered several boxes, especially if they are up front. Yeah, it's too bad. Jimmy Purvis says Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Burlington in Northeast Georgia and upstate South Carolina suck. The Ollies are okay, but mainly Snake Eyes Movie, Joe, and Lady J. Oh, all right, cool. Okay, so we kind of talked about all the toys that are clogging up all the Ollies and the discount chains. And for anyone who hasn't seen all of Jeff's awesome toy hunt videos on World Class Bullshitters, please go watch those because they're informative and they're fun and they're funny, especially when you would stack all the Rose Ticos up in the middle of the aisle. So I always got to
and then kick them down.
And then kick them down.
I got so much hate mail. They're like, how could you destroy that store? People have to clean that up. I'm like, are people that dense? I picked it up when I was done. Like, people think I walk through a store like Godzilla or Reptar and just knock stuff over and leave. Not that guy. When I go into Ollie's, I stacked up Vice Admiral Holdo. I don't think here's the inside baseball. I put it all back. Sometimes I even set it up nicer than I found it. But in the video, I film it to where it looks like I leave it because it's the joke. But some people just can't see that. They're like, they get so upset with me. I'm like, calm down, guys. Calm down.
Yeah, you know how it is. Like when you're forward facing on something like YouTube, like everybody wants to nitpick every little thing that you do. Like, actually, you shouldn't have done that. Jeff Hicks smash. Thank you. It's like, man, you don't even know. That's that dumb shit. But all right, so now we're gonna get into some meat and potato stuff, and I have to thank Scuba Pete. Scuba, if you're still hanging out here, thank you very much for stressing me out because like 15 minutes before you and I were set to go live, Jeff, Scuba Pete's sending me all these images. And I'm like, dude, every time you send me something cool, I have to change the friggin' slideshow, delete it, re-upload it. And he like kept doing it. And I was like, stop sending me cool stuff to talk about.
But anyway, if you ever want to shoot us an email, let me know because we could put some of this in our videos. We'll give you credit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Or I can shoot it to you and then you can just credit Pete for it.
Cool. If that's cool with you guys. I mean, it would be stuff I'd like to look at,
Yeah, this information it's really useful. So what we're looking at here, and I have the full image on one side, and then I took the meat and potatoes of the middle and I blew it up on the other side so everybody could kind of see it a little better. So it shows revenue, net loss per share, and then, a bunch of other industry jargon. But in the center there, it says consumer products segment revenue by geography. Now, this is Hasbro, of course. So it says North America, they're down 17%. Europe, they're down 23%. But at the same time, like George Aiken and a lot of people in the UK can attest, all Hasbro stuff is Pulse only for the UK now. So they basically just shot themselves in the foot when they did that. And it shows Latin America's flat, so no gains, no losses. And then Asia Pacific is down 25%. So biggest losses in the Pacific Asian countries, and then Europe, and then North America. And then larger on the side here, you can see, oh yeah, there's Scuba Pete. He's still here. Thanks again, Pete, for the images. Freaking jerk. Do it sooner next time. Revenue by brand portfolio and then percentage change. So you see franchise brands are up 8%. And that's all the stuff that Hasbro owns outright. You see the partner brands took a really big hit. That's 35%. Portfolio brands down 19%. Non-Hasbro branded film and TV down 47%. So the partner brands, as far as like toys and stuff, that's a 35% loss. Non-Hasbro branded film and TV. So that's something a little different. And then if we look at this next slide, this is the Hasbro investment thesis. They wrote a thesis on that.
Ooh.
So this is the investor fact sheet. Look at the franchise brands. Jeff, do you see G.I. Joe on there?
I do not.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So Peppa Pig was like the only thing they did with that animation company that they spent like $4 billion for, under the guy who was in charge of Hasbro before Chris Cox. And then, because that guy wanted to turn Hasbro into like a multimedia, because remember, like Hasbro Gaming, Hasbro Movies, that was the guy before Chris Cox. And all they really did with that was Peppa Pig animation, and then they kind of got rid of it. But it's interesting that G.I. Joe is not on here. Now, G.I. Joe is the brand that saved Hasbro 3 times over, but they don't have it down here as a franchise brand.
That's weird.
Another thing to understand about G.I. Joe, Hasbro still classifies G.I. Joe as an emerging brand. So they don't show it as like a solvent or viable. And from what I was led to understand, the classification of emerging brand means that there's no multimedia associated with the brand. But at the same time, whose fault is that? So it shows that per Hasbro's investor fact sheet, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Nerf, Play-Doh, Transformers, Peppa Pig, and then gaming. So that's like your Monopoly, your friggin' Hungry Hippo, which is what saved Hasbro from closing their doors in '79. And that was Stephen Hassenfeld. Yeah. So Hasbro was going to go under. In '78, they were looking at being out of business in like 6 months. And all of this, they kind of discuss it on that episode of The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. That was done by Brian Volkweiss and the Nacelle Company. So they discussed that in '78, they were looking at closing the doors in about 6 months. And then Stephen Hassenfeld took over because Merle, their father, had died. And when Stephen took over, he kind of like picked the company up by its bootstraps, and he launched Hungry Hippo, and that saved their company for a little bit longer. It let them kick the can down the road. And then that's when you had the guys who were doing the Operation Blastoff, which was the behind the scenes reinvigoration of G.I. Joe, but they wanted to do G.I. Joe on the Star Wars scale so they could do world building with vehicles and all that stuff, because it was the era of Reagan and he was saving us from the commies. So they came up with the idea of a real American hero, and that was Operation Blastoff. And so Kirk Bazigian and all those guys, Ron Rudat, and they launched a real American hero in '82, and then by that time they were good. So, but I found it really interesting on this brand insight platform investor fact sheet that G.I. Joe is not listed as their franchise brand, even though it is. So as much as people want to scream that those of us who would buy toys at, say, Ross or TJ Maxx or Ollie's are the ones who are making Hasbro lose money, you can see on specifically this slide right here where it breaks down all their losses and their gains. It has nothing to do with Ollie's, even though Ollie's stock is almost twice as much as Hasbro, and it's going north while Hasbro's going south. This is what's causing Hasbro's woes. And it's based on distribution of toys, the brands that they own, the brands that they partner. And that, again, that's going to be your Indiana Jones, your Star Wars, all your Marvel stuff, the Eternal shit, Holdo, Rose Tico, all the stuff from Solo's Star Wars story, on and on and on. The fact that Rise of Skywalker didn't have a toy line. So that's what we're looking at here. And I kind of wanted to really end on this note because this is the kind of stuff where numbers don't lie. It's very quantifiable.
Oh, yeah. One thing I noticed too on your other slide that showed the brands at the bottom, Dungeons and Dragons. I understand it's, the games and stuff like that. But I noticed at my most recent Ollie's visit that the Dungeons and Dragons movie toys are in abundance at Ollie's. And that movie dropped this year. And the action figure line based on the cartoon, that's available at Ollie's as well. It's just, I don't get how that one works, where it's like so quick to retail clearance. I just played my first D&D game or campaign not that long ago on my birthday. Actually, we played it for a couple hours. We're still in the middle of it, but it was fun. But some of their brands, it's like they're very wide across the board, with what Hasbro has. And I understand as a business, you want to diversify everything.
Yeah.
But some of that stuff, I just always kind of scratch my head because I always think of Hasbro as like very specific things. And I forget they own Wizards of the Coast. I forget they do D&D. I forget, I didn't even realize some of the stuff they have. But I do see it at Ollie's, and I know if it's going to be there, that it's going to be, you know, it's a Hasbro thing. Like with, are they Nerf as well, right?
Yep.
Or is Nerf is their thing? Okay. Dude,
Yeah.
I've seen like, actually, you know, like 200 Nerf rifles at one store. Like, now those will sell because Nerf is cool and you can do so much with it. But like, all of their brands are just, you know, I just see them on the cheap. And the reason, now I've always been under the belief that Hasbro makes their money when they sell it to the stores. They don't really, you know, they make their money from like Target. Target buys $1 million worth of whatever. And so what Target sells in the store is what they make. That's their profit. So I guess it has to be worse for them too if it's, you know, down in the, you know, 35% like that. People just aren't buying from them because they don't see value in those brands.
And I don't even know how that chain works because obviously Hasbro has exclusive deals with Walmart and Target, and then the fan channel stuff. So like your GameStops and your online retailers or your, you know, your e-retailers. And we just saw examples of all of that. The Fortnite Snake Eyes, the Viper 3-pack, the Tiger Force repaint shit from Target, and the Walmart 4-inch retro stuff all winds up at Ross and Ollie's. So do the major retailers pay Hasbro, and then the major retailers kick it down to the discount chains, and the discount, like, you know, it's changing hands over and over and over. But I'm not an economics guy. I'm not even an expert on toys. I'm just an enthusiast. But you can see all the different layers of where Hasbro's challenges are falling because they are intrinsically tied to the health of the MCU, the Star Wars universe, the Indiana Jones stuff, on and on and on, all these partner brands, and that stuff is failing. Like Disney's in bad shape. And because Disney's in bad shape, that's like your trickle down economics. It's hitting Hasbro too. And like you had mentioned earlier, you had somebody on your show, and I remember that show where you guys were discussing like, this is how it used to be under Lucas, and this is how it is under Kennedy and the Disney regime, and it's completely different. And it basically just like it just ties their hands, and they just have to go along to get along.
Yep. That was our J.W. Rinsler interview. He was like the guy that wrote tons of these great books on behind the scenes of how things work. So it's changed. It's, you know, as somebody that used to love these things and, you know, likes them in different degrees now, I kind of feel bad for like the Marvel stuff because the quality is what it is. But like, I feel like Hasbro has their hands tied with what they have to produce from the MCU. And so we see hundreds of America Chavez's, hundreds of Eternals, hundreds of Wong. And I think what it boils down to is I know some people on the internet want to say it's the diversity characters. I agree. People aren't asking for them. They're not buying the toys. But it also stems from just secondary characters that know, you know, I'm sure they're contractually obligated to make X amount of Wongs or this or that. It's like, do you really need the sidekick produced in the same amount as the hero? Do you really need the girlfriend produced as the lead? Like, no. Maybe realize that like this, whatever they think all characters are created equal, that is not true. You're a G.I. Joe guy. You could tell me who the top list is and who are B, C, D, E list characters. I can do that with wrestlers, with anything I'm into. And I think that's where Hasbro makes that mistake. But I also do think part of it comes from, and I'm not here to like make excuses for this $1 billion company. The fact that they charge you for a HasLab that they could produce these things themselves angers me. But like, I do try to take all those things into account of why we're here to try to get to the answer of, you know, what it is that brought us to this point. And I think there's all these factors into it.
You know, exactly. And I think you nailed it right there. I'm a huge fan of the why. Being that I've spent my entire adult life in a career in the military, I always teach my subordinate leaders, like, you should always understand the why. And if you don't, then ask why. I said the same thing to my kid. You know, she's 16 years old. And I'm always like, you should always ask why. And there's a lot of whys involved with all of this stuff. And, you know, you kept talking about Wong. You know, back in the day when they would put out, even as not so long ago as the Power of the Force 2 stuff in like 95, 96, when that really started ramping up, Leia was the chase figure. And you would get like a bunch of stormtroopers, a couple of Hans, a couple of Lukes, a couple of Vaders. They were smarter back then. It was still under the Kenner brand, but it was Hasbro. They're more army builders, a good amount of the main characters, but then you had that chase figure. Like, what would be wrong with making Wong like a chase figure? Because then people they're going to want to go find him because there's the whole FOMO thing, and the psychology of collecting where people are going to want to find him, but he's not going to clog up picks at the same time. And Eternals, I don't know how you get around that. And it's not that these characters are diverse. It's not that they're women. Sarah Connor is still popular. Ellen Ripley is still popular, but you get these poorly written characters and then you just layer on all that BS on top of it and then people don't want it.
Mm-mm.
But again, Hasbro's intrinsically tied to whatever it is that Disney and, Feige and Kennedy and all these people are just, pulling out of their ass. But it's just one of those things.
Yeah. And we get to laugh at it as we watch it clog retail shelves for an eternity, to be honest. Like some of this stuff will have to be destroyed. It won't sell.
Yeah. And again, right. So you can see their franchise brands are up. But how much can we credit G.I. Joe with that plus 8% if they don't even have G.I. Joe on here in their franchise brands? I mean, I'm sure we can. That's more of a facetious thing, but Nerf sells. Their board games always sell.
Oh yeah,
Play-Doh's big with kids. Magic the Gathering, I don't know. Ever since Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast, they've been pissing a lot of people off because like Wizards of the Coast sent those Pinkerton agents to that guy's house because he accidentally got that chaser pack in the mail from an accredited dealer. And next thing you know, like these freaking jack thugs who are like breaking up unions come and threaten his wife, man. Like you wouldn't even get one step in my front door if you tried to pull that kind of stuff, but they just think it's okay,
That really turned me off because admittedly, I don't do trading cards. I used to collect Pokemon back in the day because it was the thing to do in grade school. But that just really turned me off from ever wanting to buy from them. Like, I don't know if maybe Magic would become in vogue. Will I give it a shot? No, because I will remember crap like that. I know people think it's silly to, but I do care how a company does business, especially when they're in the business of this. This is a fun business. This isn't a life or death product. Nobody needs these cards or these toys. So I think they should be treated as it should be treated as a fun hobby across the board. They really cross the line there.
Yeah, that's where you take something that's like, it's a passion and you do it in your spare time. And I got a couple of bucks. I'm going to buy some cards or whatever. And yes, he had a YouTube channel or still does, devoted to Magic the Gathering because it's his passion. I have a G.I. Joe channel, so I can completely relate to this guy. And just to see that they had the friggin' gall to send these agents to his house to like demand the stuff that he legally paid for. It'd be like, get out of my house. You got a fucking warrant? Like, no, that's not going to fly. And then Patrick Strauko says, bad marketing across the brands. Kirk Bazigian recently said they need multimedia support. The current attention span of kids is 0. Yeah, absolutely. So I posted a thing where some guy, he posted it to a classified page where it showed Hasbro stock going down, and he blamed collectors who, A, don't buy everything that Hasbro puts out, B, don't buy all their HasLabs, and C, will buy things at discount stores like Ollie's and Ross. He blamed those collectors for Hasbro's woes. For their problems.
No.
Yeah. And as soon as I posted that, Kirk Bazigian replied. Now, Kirk Bazigian, he was the brand manager of G.I. Joe. So like the points on the cards was Kirk Bazigian. The blueprints was Kirk Bazigian. The original direct-to-consumer line was Kirk Bazigian, all that stuff. So he was very influential in the G.I. Joe line from 82 all the way through 94 when A Real American Hero ended. And Kirk said, like, repaints, reuse, exclusives, no media, like they're the problem. It's not the people who buy stuff or don't buy stuff. So
I hate reuse. I understand you need to do it, but like McFarlane overdoes it, and the Marvel Legends, man, I can't tell you how many times I get a figure and I'm like, why do they have a hole in their back? Because they want to use the same Bucky build and they don't want to like cover over it and re-sculpt it or do it's like it's the laziest crap. And, before, maybe back in 2019 when Marvel was hot, I bought every Marvel Legend that year. I know that's crazy, but I wanted to build a figures and this and that. Now, their selection is what bothers me. Like, to just touch on the point where you said, like, the collectors who don't buy everything. I am a collector who will not buy everything because you will not make a line of figures that has all bangers in it. I think I bought all the Raiders of the Lost Ark figures because it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I did not buy every Indiana Jones figure in the Adventure series. I just, they gotta find a way to spice things up too, because a lot of the toys they make, like they're MCU toys, they're like a lot of people in street clothes. That's not exciting. I don't want to buy a Ben Mendelsohn action figure because you can put a Talos head and make him a Skrull. Nah, man, give me Super Skrull. Give me the Fantastic Four in their classic Kirby costumes. Don't put it at Walgreens as an exclusive because that was terrible. That was the only Fantastic Four wave I wanted and I couldn't find it. And so I kind of just gave up on it.
And Walgreens exclusives alone, like I don't know about where you live, but where I live, like Walgreens is sketchy. Like it is super sketchy. Like I will always carry when I walk into a Walgreens because I don't know what's going to go down. I remember I came back from Afghanistan years and years and years ago, and I went to a Walgreens in this one weird area of town, and I was like, I felt safer over there than I do in this Walgreens, and that spoke volumes. And I was like, why do they have Walgreens exclusive toys? But I mean, whatever, if they're willing to pay for it.
My buddy was a manager of the sketchiest Walgreens in the area, and he would tell me this behind the scenes stories about the theft and this and that and the people they deal with. And I'm like, I don't even know how they make a profit, but it's all from prescriptions. So it doesn't matter what goes on in the retail.
Yeah, same here. It's like all the crackheads and the bums. And I'm just like, good Lord. Jason says Disney Marvel is to blame for the bad MCU stuff after Endgame. Toy lines suffer from having to produce toys from those lines, which Hasbro has no control over. Yep. Absolutely. And, again, this isn't to crap on Hasbro. This is just to kind of talk about all the different layers of like what the challenges are. The fact that they killed European distribution unless it's pulse only. They're getting slaughtered in the Asian Pacific market. The partner brands aren't doing well. Some of the franchise brands, they're just completely ignoring them, like G.I. Joe, as we see right here. And then Roll Keeper says, it's all my fault. Yes, it's all my fault. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tyler's here. What's up, Tyler? You're like 2 hours late, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Jeff really appreciates you being here.
I do. Thank you, Tyler.
And then David said, I buy what I like. I have bought some classified, not all of them, but some of them. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Very cool. And then, Roll Keeper says, no, you must buy everything that Hasbro makes according to that guy. Everything. Yeah.
Well, I bought most of their Ghostbusters stuff, but not everything.
Mm-hmm. There's like a weird feedback noise going on. Interesting.
Still getting it?
Nope, I am not.
Okay, I was worried it was from me because I was like, I don't have anything on right now.
No, it's probably just the CIA. You know how it goes.
Oh, you too. I think it's Disney. They just send people after you if you don't blindly buy into it. They're still mad at me. They think I tanked The Rise of Skywalker. It's like, no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. You say Disney too many times and like the Baba Yaga shows up. Mickey Mouse is behind you with like an ice pick. He wants to come get you.
You got to go with a smile. So
go with a smile. Chronically Online says some popular Instagram page is under the impression 3 3/4 inch should want all figures, but then complained about the Andor and Finn announcements this week.
Well, I know this is a bold statement to make, and I know everyone needs to sit down for it. But if your 3 3/4 inch figures weren't $19 with tax per figure, maybe we'd buy more of them. Yeah. I can understand $20 for a 6-inch figure, no problem. But I bought this little 3 3/4 inch Han Solo from Return of the Jedi. It was $16.99 at Walmart, and then your tax was like $17.50 or something. But like, that's way too much money. That should be 3 action figures for that price. At least from when I was a kid.
And that's why Ollie's is doing so well. It's not that people don't want these items. It's just that people don't really want these items for like $30 for an action figure. $5, $10. Yeah. but $30 for an action figure doesn't come with additional hands, doesn't come with additional heads. The weapons are bent. The figure, you pull it out, the arm falls off. Like, you got all these challenges working against you. Piss poor distribution, questionable QC issues. Now you have windowless packaging. I don't even know if that's the friggin' figure in the box, because figure swapping is a thing. We all know that. And so people buy it at discount, and then you got these like brand loyalists Hasbros, and they're like, "No, you're the reason why Hasbro's hurting." And then you're like, actually, if you look at this chart, thank you. That's not us, that's them. But you can't please everybody. And like Tyler said, the NSA just logged in, so they're hanging out with us.
Hey guys.
I have my clearance. Leave me alone. Black Knight from Hella Dopes here. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Master Versal said maybe it's a solar flare. I'm going with Disney. Yeah, we're gonna say it's Disney. Yeah. And then Andrew says you can't buy everything because prices are so high. Nobody can buy everything. That's ridiculous. You can try. Lester San Jose the Skeptic, thank you very much for the $2 super chat. And Lester is asking, best Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow figure? Jeff, do you have an opinion on that?
I don't own any, so I'll just say the original from the early 80s.
So that would be Snake Eyes version 1 from 1982 and Storm Shadow version 1 from 1985. So like just the OGs.
I mean, if I was going to buy some, the 6-inch ones that came out a couple of years, whatever the line we've been talking about, G.I. Joe Classified, they looked cool enough that they were on my radar that I'm like, maybe if I find these at Ollie's, I'll buy them for $10 because they look cool and they're ninjas. They got swords. Like, they can fight Spider-Man if you want to, or Wolverine. That'd be an even better setup. So those are my two
the Cold Blade, and he's got the sword and the thing, and he shut the fuck up. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off again. I didn't mean to.
Oh, dude, I'm having a great time. Don't apologize for anything. This has been a blast so far, man. Your audience is awesome. You're cool as hell. This is great, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. But I'm all about the people, the guests and the people in the chat. I just like to crack little pop culture jokes. But best Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow figure, in my opinion, the ultimate Storm Shadow, the modern one that came out, I want to say it wasn't one of the movie lines, but they had an ultimate Storm Shadow that came out recently in the 4-inch scale. That's my favorite Storm Shadow. And I'm probably going to break the internet by saying this, but my favorite Snake Eyes is this one that actually came with the San Diego Comic-Con Transformer Joe crossover set. I really like this Snake Eyes.
That's cool.
That's my favorite Snake Eyes. Doesn't have a timber, doesn't have black pants, and he has a freaking Autobot symbol on his shoulder, but he's kind of my favorite. I don't know why.
I wanted to get into G.I. Joe. I think it was 2004 is when they had like an anniversary line come out, and maybe it was a little later than that. 2007. Okay, because they kind of followed the vintage Star Wars line where they all had like retooled articulation and the sculpts were good. And I was like, man, these look cool. But I think what had happened is I missed a couple, like Toys R Us had some figures, but not the ones I wanted. And I'm like, if I can't find, Snake Eyes or whatever, I'm not going to buy just some random character and hope to fill in the gaps. I always go with favorites first, then the rest. So those look cool though.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of the anniversary, the modern ones. The O-ring ones, they have that nostalgia to them, but action figure construction has evolved. Even the O-ring bodies are still evolving, where they have, ankle articulation and the wrist swivel inside the forearms, and they're constantly evolving action figure design. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the 4-inch modern stuff. Like that's kind of what I really have displayed everywhere.
I would love to get more into the vintage style Star Wars stuff in the 3 3/4 inch scale myself. Like I said, the price is prohibitive, but like the Han Solo looks just like Harrison Ford. Finally, the Stormtroopers are great. They got the base and from Return of the Jedi, the shield generator. Like they got all this great stuff. Hell, I forgot before the pandemic, I actually bought Jabba's palace and got the most of the setup. Right. I even wanted to get that Book of Boba Fett set because it was the whole palace, and I just wanted to put Jabba the Hutt up there. But it's for as small as everything is, they want to charge you like $200 and $300 for a set.
Yeah,
I'm like, if this was a 6-inch scale set, that price is more acceptable. Not the things are the size of my fingernail, and like I can lose it forever, type of thing.
Yeah, and that set came with all sorts of little, jars and bottles and set it all up. And didn't it have a fat bib Fortuna?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted it for too, to laugh at that, because I thought that was so funny. Fat Bib Fortuna. I was like, I hate
It
this.
just gets smoked immediately. It's just like, hey, Boba's like, shut up. Yeah, just like
I always thought he blew up on the sail barge, but I guess he's not on the sail barge. So,
well, and I thought he did as well, but if you really break it down, like Max Rebo didn't, and then there were a few others that didn't as well. So whatever. It is what it is. Hayden says only Hasbro line I collect at this point is classified. Is every figure the best ever? No, but classified's worst figure is better than Black Series best figure, I guess. I mean, that's fair. Like what you like, you know what I mean? If it speaks to you, then just have at it. Brent Banks says the only good Hasbro product is the 6-inch Black Series Star Wars vehicles. How many did they make? They made the Land Speeder.
Got it. Ray's ship, that little, it looks like a hot fudge bar, like a fudge symbol.
Like an electric razor on its side, and then they made the
speeder bikes
and the TIE Fighter.
Yeah, that thing was a big flop. Do you remember at Toys R Us how that thing would not sell and how they had to clearance it out for pennies on the dollar at the end?
Oh yeah, yeah. But it goes back to the whole thing, and this isn't conjecture. It's not an opinion. Like this is factual shit. 6-inch scale is not world building. It's not a world building scale. It's not conducive to play sets and vehicles and, large play set / vehicles and anything like that. The most you're going to get is what you're seeing with like Classified now, where you get like, oh, we're going to get a vamp. Oh, we got some trouble bubbles. We got a fucking ram cycle. Like that's the most you're going to get. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But, you have to understand that that's how those scales work. And, something you were talking about, Jeff, where you had said that, you were kind of interested in the 1/18 scale stuff, but you're looking at a figure that's $20 and then the play sets are, $200-$300. That's why a lot of these companies want to go to 6-inch, because it's advantageous for them, because you can use the same size mold and make a larger figure and charge more, which means you're going to make more profit. But at the same time, you can produce less and still make more, right? It's like minimum effort, maximum return. So I know that like Valaverse doesn't make 6-inch figures because he's trying to like get over on anybody. But ever since Hasbro started going to 6-inch stuff, do you really see much conversation about vehicles or play sets or dioramas or anything like that? No, unless it's third parties. Yeah, third party or HasLab, because they can engineer it that way.
Yeah. Like their Giant Man thing, I didn't think that was going to hit. I was surprised it hit at the very end. Either.
Yeah.
But then the Ghostbusters, was it 48 hours? It funded. It got all 10,000 back. I'm one of the Ghostbusters people. I love Ghostbusters, so I don't have any shame. I got the Proton Pack and the Neutrino one. You don't make Ghostbusters stuff, so you got to get it where you can.
But one of the tiers for this new Ghostbusters thing that they just put out, which was like, the Ghost Trap and the whatever. But one of the tiers was stickers. And I'm like, come on, man. Stickers has a fucking unlock tier. But at the same time,
that's what I give on my crowdfunders. And I'm not Hasbro.
But at the same time, they have completely already confirmed that anything that comes as an unlock tier is already worked into the price. It's just a matter of, one, they use it for hype to keep the conversation going about this crowdfund. 2, they try to reel you in more with that FOMO shit, because like, oh, if I don't back this crowdfund, I'm not going to get that friggin' Cobra Commander. And that's just how they work it out. So I don't care if a unlock tier is stickers. They were going to do the stickers anyway.
Yeah.
It's just something I just like to rip on. It's funny. It's just funny.
I thought their biggest mistake was that Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, the car and the whatever.
Oh yeah,
like that was a dumpster fire, man.
Engine of Vengeance.
Yeah. And the people that try to defend it, oh, it's a really good value. You need to go back it now so we can all get it. What? Stop telling people how to back crap. I get it, but like you want your toy. But maybe get mad at Hasbro that they won't take the chance or create the market where you can put a $200 Dodge Charger out at retail. I can't imagine cars are that expensive to do. Other people do big cars.
No,
McFarlane can do it for $80.
And you nailed it with that. That's the thing. That's that whole like groupthink mentality that sucks about having crowd funds, because you will get peer pressured to back something so somebody who wants it can get all these freebie unlocks and they can get their dopamine rush and, you know, meet their little FOMO needs. But I don't need people in all these like social media groups telling me that I need to go buy this. Like that shit is absurd. And then when you don't, because you just don't like the offering, like even if I was a Marvel Legends person, and that thing was a deep cut because that giant man, it has nothing to do with the current Marvel stuff that Hasbro's hitched to. You're talking way back like 70s, you know, when he was beating the shit out of his wife and stuff. But when I look at this giant man, I'm like, okay, it looks like a big red dildo. Like if it fun's cool, but like that would not speak to me whatsoever. There's almost no like sculpting on this figure. It's just like, you know, he has like a cross holster thing going on, and that's it. There was nothing on that figure.
No,
but
they tried to like over design something basic.
Yeah. But at the same time, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, the Rancor. There were a lot of people that would have liked to seen a Rancor for their Black Series collection. Could they have put that in a box and put it on store shelves? Yes. Now, does it work to Hasbro's interest to crowdfund it? Sure. But the people who did really, really want that toy wound up with nothing because Hasbro wouldn't take the risk to put it on store shelves. So at that point, if it funds, it's a win-win. If it doesn't fund, it's a complete lose-lose. It's goose eggs all the way across the board. And if they don't fund, all the money that they put, they have to do some sort of tooling. They have to do the digital renders and they have to build the models and they got to build all the production and, you know, oh yeah, look at all this stuff that we're going to come up with. They spent money on that. So when things don't fund, Rancor, Cookie Monster, shit like that, they just take losses. And then the community gets nothing in return. So, oh, they did have a 6-inch snow speeder. Thank you, George.
Yes, they did. I think it came with that.
It did. That's right.
See,
it did.
That's how you get a rare character. I used to love that when you're like, oh, to only get the A-Wing pilot, like in the Power of the Force 2 line, you had to buy the A-Wing or to get this or that. I like that stuff. I mean, I get it. It's how a company makes more money, but it's like when I was a kid, the only way you could get the Green Ranger is if you bought the Dragon Zord. And it was cool because I had that. And I was like, yeah, man, the Green Ranger, he's the coolest of all the Rangers. You got to get all the stuff to get him. And, you know, it worked. It got us excited. It made that like a rare toy too, because not every kid had the Green Ranger.
I just went back and rewatched that storyline with the creation of the Green Ranger all the way up to where he became good. So great. It still holds up. You know, he just shows up and he like trashes Zordon and he's like, come here, Alpha 5. You know, he just like wrecks everything. So good.
Have you ever seen the Japanese version?
No, the Zhu Ranger? No,
yeah, like so I'm a, you know, diehard Power Ranger kid, but when I moved back for some reason, I was like, I'm gonna check this out. And so I actually checked out the Japanese version on Zhu Ranger. I thought it was pretty good too. It's like, for as hokey as that show is, and as hokey as the American one is, like whatever, both Green Ranger sagas are equally epic because that Candle, like he's like stuck to this dimension, and every time he steps out, he is like minutes off of his life. It's not like the power thing where he'll lose his power; he'll just die flat out. And he's like, he was gonna die. He was like a stolen child from the king or whatever. It's like a whole elaborate process to tell this story, but it's pretty cool. And I was surprised that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers did something so good with the Americanized version.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
It's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah, and then you know you watch the Japanese versus the Americanized stuff like Battleship Yamato, and then all that kind of other stuff. It's really fun. Fat Red Foo, what's up? Says it makes no sense that $1 billion company does crowdfunding. We should not supplant a fully vested marketing department. Yeah. I don't have beef with HasLabs for what they were originally intended to be. So when you look at Jabba's sail barge, it was intended for the 4-inch vintage collection figures or your 3 3/4 inch figures, whatever. But that thing is over 5 feet long. It's like a 30-pound toy. It's almost the size of my USS Flag. Like the Kitana is very impressive. But then you start seeing like a Sentinel. Okay, and then you get to like his tank. Reva's lightsaber. No.
That was a huge flop.
Some of that stuff should just not be HasLabs. The Kitana, sure. Unicron, okay. Galactus, maybe. Sentinel, no. His tank, no.
How
Rancor,
do you feel?
no.
How would you feel if they did an X-Jet, the Blackbird? Do you think that should be retail, or do you think? I personally think X-Men's strong enough that it can go to retail for whatever it would be, $200 for this giant airplane. But I would. That's the one HasLab I think I would open the wallet for from Marvel Legends because I love my X-Men.
I guess it depends on the scale though. So they just did the 4-inch Marvel 97 stuff, right, in the VHS style boxes. If it was for the 4-inch scale stuff that they just put out, definitely retail. I do agree with you that no matter what, X-Men has the name brand recognition to make it in mass retail. But again, we go back to the fact that it's a partner brand. And so they may not be able to do that. But a 6-inch scale X-Jet would be ridiculous. That thing would be huge. That's what she said.
That's my one toy that doesn't have a limit on what I'll spend. They're like, I mean, if it's got seats for the X-Men, it makes some kind of sound and has lights and looks like it's worth the money. And if it has like a ramp on it, like, because I like the rampway thing. If they do that, that could be like a $300 or $400 toy, and I'd be like, all right, screw it, I'll get it right away.
We're getting sharp shooted. But Jason said they also did Eff's Nest Speeder.
Now I remember that. That was at Ollie's in one of our old videos, folks. So if you want to go back and see Ollie's around 2018, 2019, we got it covered.
And then Chris Owens says they did a Black Series 6-inch Dewback, Wampa, and Tauntaun?
I know the Dewback because I own the Dewback.
Okay.
I did not pick up the Tauntaun, but I did pick up the Han Solo and Princess Leia and Echo Base 2-pack.
Okay. I'm
just showing up at Ollie's. That was an exclusive too, and that's an old exclusive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a Star Wars collector. There's just the things that I knew off the top of my head. Mikey says if they ever do a Punisher van with a ton of weapons / loadouts and microchip stretch goals, I'll be in trouble. Maybe Spider-Man cartoon style Punisher and Nick Fury.
Ooh. You get him in the green costume. Yeah, I'd back that. I love Punisher stuff.
What kind of Nick Fury are you talking about, Mikey? Are you talking about going back to like the David Hasselhoff kind of Nick Fury, or do you mean like the Ultimates Sam Jackson style? There's different Nick Furies.
I'm guessing what he posted, it'd be like if you could get the Spider-Man animated series Nick Fury and Spider-Man animated series Punisher to go with the van, because you could kind of justify like a Spider-Man branded thing, because if it's in a Spider-Man box, people will buy it. So we're collectors, we don't care what the box, well, we care what the box looks like as long as it's in good shape. But like if that box has to say Spider-Man instead of the Punisher to get that toy, I don't care because it's getting opened.
Yeah. Rachel Salinas says, I wish Hasbro would take a hint from RoboSkull. Yeah, so the company Skeletron, and they made that RoboSkull Mark II. Release a shark that seats 2 1/18 scale figures or 1 1/12 scale figure. I completely agree, Rachel. I think that the more stuff that they put out, it needs to be kind of plug and play for different scales. Somebody asked today, Toy Hunters Hollow was asking on Instagram, if they made a true to scale Weather Dominator or mass device, would people buy it? And my answer was basically what Rachel just said. It depends on what scale it was for. If it was modular enough to accommodate both scales being 4-inch and 6-inch, because that Hiss tank, if it had interchangeable cockpits where I could fit 2 4-inch figures in it, I'd have bought that Hiss tank. But I'm not a 6-inch collector. It doesn't speak to me whatsoever. So, but at least when Skeletron made that RoboSkull Mark II, they gave it interchangeable cockpits. So you could fit. They were fitting Super 7 Ultimates figures in that thing. Like that's how roomy that cockpit is.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. Brent Banks says, sad the classified fighter jets got made by Mattel. Oh, you're talking about the Lightyear XL-15. Still don't know why they kept putting the word Lightyear on a G.I. Joe box. Yeah, that's funny. I actually have two of them right here on the wall behind me, and they're done up like the trackers from the 87 Transformers movie. So, yeah, those Buzz Lightyear fighters they're pretty much money. Mikey says, Jeff knows. Yep, both were in the Spider-Man animated series. Good Blade too. Yes, I remember that Blade. And the figures that came from it, excellent versions. Toy had weird hands. Weird hands. Like the Kenner Star Wars figures with like the good job hand where you could put it on someone's shoulder.
When Retro Blessin made that video, I laughed so hard because I bought a vintage Han Solo when I was really young just because I like everything Han Solo. I was like, why does his hand look like this? Like you can't do it. The other, and the one in the 90s had that weird thing too. It's like one was a closed hand and one was like a weird open thing. And the half open hand was supposed to hold his gun. And I'm like, it just doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't. David says they did make a 1/18 scale mass device in a 5-pack. Yeah, it came in the DVD sets in pieces. Yeah, it was like a Build-A-Figure. Very hard to complete. I have one on my Terrordrome. Yeah, I do too. Sitting on the top of my Terrordrome. But talking like to scale, like the mass device would be massive, and then the Weather Dominator would come on that, that big telescoping thingamajig. That's a technical term. Anyway, Mr. Hicks.
Yes.
You want to talk about this?
Oh, cool. So Stealing Solo is a comic book I made. It is a graphic novel about a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans who kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement. I've got a website. It's powered by Shopify right now. So if you guys want to go ahead and grab a copy, supplies are limited. I'm getting ready for my next book, Wokebusters. I just finished the second act today. The third act is essentially done. So I have 13 pages and I'm free. That's an epic right there. But Stealing Solo was a lot of fun because it's my response to Disney Star Wars. Unlike a lot of YouTubers where I just make videos. I don't just make videos. I don't just go, oh, this thing's terrible, blah, blah, blah. I go, I didn't like this thing. Here's why I didn't like it. And let me take this trauma in quotations because it's just a movie. And let me turn that into something else. So that's what I did with Stealing Solo. So when you buy this comic book, you're going to get my initial reactions from Star Wars and the wildest fantasy of what all Star Wars fans wish they could do. And it was a lot of fun to make. People call it laugh out loud funny. They enjoy it. And everyone out there that's a toy collector is going to understand what the package is about. And on the back, I even drew the guys as vintage style Star Wars figures. And with Wokebusters, I got a toy box that looks like the real Ghostbusters toy line. And I'm even drawing us as real Ghostbusters toys. So until I can create a property that's ready for actual toys, I keep toys involved with all of my stuff. The collector's edition even came with, remember those old Kenner booklets that you would get with the toys? I made one of those for my own book. So I'm a huge toy guy. That the box is a reflection of that. But check the book out. It's a lot of fun. Everybody that buys a copy tends to send me a message and say how much they enjoy it. I got people that said my wife even read it and like it too. So yeah, folks, that's Stealing Solo.
Yeah, it's such an awesome premise. And then Jason says there should be figures based off Jeff's comic.
There will be soon, guys. Like I said, I'm just getting started. I know I'm new to the field of a lot of this stuff, but with Wokebusters, there are a couple of cool designs, and one day we're gonna turn it into real stuff. So be on the lookout.
Do it, dude. That'll be so awesome. Stealing Solo, like I've been following you for so long, and since you first started, like really talking about the Stealing Solo project, like just to see it. The way that it evolved was really awesome to just kind of experience and watch it. And it did such a great job. And then Wesley says, can I get a signed copy?
Honestly, if you bought one and you sent me another message, like said, could you sign it for me? Sure. Not a problem. I mean, boom. I'm happy to do that. So
that's rad.
Just go to the website, stealingsolo.com, and shoot me a DM over there. Relatively soon, because the way it works is I ship these out quick. So like everybody that ordered on Monday, yours have been fulfilled and you're going to get a notification tomorrow. So yeah, just ask. I'm very happy to sign your book. and I do it all the conventions for everybody too. So just ask.
That's super awesome, Jeff. Really, really rad. So, what else you got going on? What's coming up for you, or
So,
you
like
guys? Like, what do you got?
well, okay, so like I said a minute ago, Wokebusters is almost done. That has been a Ghostbuster style parody where instead of having people, you know how everyone gets outraged on the internet? Well, in my story, they become literal outrage monsters. So these guys start a business to fight the outrage monsters. And it's probably going to be, I don't want to say it's my last parody comic forever because I got a ton of ideas for other stuff that I'm ready to get to. But Wokebusters, if you like the real Ghostbusters cartoon, I think you guys will like it because I drew it in a cartoonier style. But it's big, it's imaginative. We fight huge creatures that are the size of King Kong. It's all about today's society wrapped up into a really interesting package. So that's what I got on the short list for 2024. That'll be done and ready finally. And then, we're going to take the channel to over 200K. We're doing a lot more travel with the channel. We're taking us around the country. I want to get us to Japan for Star Wars Celebration 2025. So, folks, we're going to be talking about how to make that happen. But we want to put the world in world-class bullshitters because we love the toy videos. They're never going away. We have people reaching out about stuff all the time. So expect to see us in more interesting places. But that's just the beginning of what I want to do. Like I said, I've just been... I had a big cross-country move, and you know how that can be. I mean, you're in the military, so you know what it's like when you have to move a lot. I moved from LA back to Cincinnati, and that was an ordeal because that was like 4 years of a life out there. But, a lot of these little bitty things are almost done, and 2024 is going to be the year where WCBS is on everyone's lips. So just subscribe to the channel, make sure your notifications turned on, and look out for what we do. We go live Tuesdays and Thursdays. So join us and hang out. And we're a very big toy community. So if you guys ever got questions, you know what to ask.
Yeah, very cool. Jason says, World Class Bullshitters is a great show. I don't comment, but I enjoy the content.
Well, Jason, thank you very much. We're glad to have you no matter what, and we're glad we entertain you.
And then Wolverine says, I just grabbed me a copy of Stealing Solo. Awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Wolverine. I appreciate that, my man. That's going to be shipped out tomorrow. And Wolverine's my favorite X-Men character, so double thumbs up to you.
Hell yeah. And for everybody who's still hanging out here, if you're not subscribed to World Class Bullshitters, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, all of Jeff's links are in the description of this live stream. Please go subscribe to World Class Bullshitters, check out Stealing Solo, and then look forward to all their future products. Jeff, I have to say that having you hang out with me tonight for 2.5 hours is it's something that I have to say I didn't think when I first started a YouTube channel that I would ever have you on my channel, and I'm just I'm blown away that you came and hung out with me, man. Like I can't say thank you enough.
Oh, you know what though? It's been my pleasure because like I told you before we went on air, you've been on my radar. I'm in your group. I follow the stuff. I'm a subscriber. I like what you do too. Like somebody earlier in your chat said, I like to hear people talk about toys that I don't necessarily collect. I'm not a G.I. Joe guy, but I like learning about G.I. Joe. I kind of want to pick up a couple things, and it's been a blast. The audience has been having a great time, and I've had a great time, man. This is one of those streams that you're going to have to be the one to stop it because I'm just enjoying everything we've been covering, man. So if you ever want to do this again, hit me up. You have my information. I'd love to have you on WCBS. We'll do a big toy collector stream. We'll map it out the right way and get a bunch of guys on because this is my hobby. I would call it my passion. Art is truly my passion, but I love collectibles. There's something about having a physical representation of a thing that you like. That's really what toy collecting is for me. I don't play with them. I just pose them and put them on a shelf. But that's what it is for me, to have the physical embodiment of the thing you love. And it's a very satisfying hobby.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. I mean, we're adults and we don't, pew, 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 pew. I mean, some people do, and that's cool if you do. But to me, this is our version of adult playing. Is we put them in cool dynamic poses, and then we put them up on the shelves and displays with their buddies, and that's kind of what we do. But I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me. And even Wolverine says this was an eye-opening stream to Hasbro toy distribution. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming, Wolverine. We appreciate it. Very, very cool. Chronically Online, Jeff says, hit me up this week. We got to have you on. So
sure. Shoot me a message over on Twitter to remind me. I got a couple of things when I say I have a couple things going on, it doesn't mean I can't show up. It means I got a couple things going on. I might not remember to send you a message, but if you send me a message over on Twitter, we'd love to make it happen, man.
Wesley just ordered the book as well.
Thank you, Wesley. Was Wesley the one that asked for a signed copy? Because here's the thing. If he's the one that wanted to sign one, I got a piece of paper right here, and I'll just write the note to myself. So
that is it.
Here we go. Wesley. It is Wesley. All right, let me just leave that up for you for a second. I'll take a screenshot of that, and that'll make my job a lot quicker. Folks, you're seeing how things are done behind the scenes sometimes. Boom, there we go. Thanks, man.
As long as you got that, we're good, right?
Oh, beautiful. I'm gonna frame that on my wall.
Somebody else is taking screenshots of that shit. It's gonna show up on Instagram tomorrow. Fuckers. Anyway, there's something else I wanted to say, and I forgot it. Yeah, I did. I just totally spaced it out. I don't know.
That happens to the best of us.
Yeah. I will be watching your next show, of course. I will be there, and this time I will make sure that I blast it full of comments.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And again, thank you for all that you do. You know, for toy collectors, you've always showed really awesome videos about like, this is what sells, this is what doesn't sell. You know, you're real and you're honest in your observations about how the toy industry is, you know, from the retailers all the way up to the manufacturers. And I've always really appreciated that. I believe it helped shape some of the stuff that I talk about. And the fact that you guys don't really pull punches when you talk about all this pop culture stuff that's been coming out on the airwaves. And I've always really appreciated that about you guys.
Well, thank you. I figure why look at the name's called World Class Bullshitters for funny reasons, but we never bullshit the audience. We always want to give you our honest takes about the stuff because that's how we feel. If I'm on a stream and I scream out like, oh damn, this blah blah blah, that's me being genuine. Like if I found out tomorrow that Back to the Future is going to get remade on a live stream, you might hear something break in the background because I'd be angry. But it's been my pleasure to get to do this as a job for so long, and the opportunities that it presents. It's just I'm the happiest guy in the world. So believe me, I love making the content. I love doing the videos. I love doing all this stuff, and you know, I'm going to be here for quite a while. So thanks for having me, man. It's great to hear how people feel about it, because I know we joke about the haters and stuff. I realistically don't get bombarded with a ton of that stuff. If I do, I'm just not paying attention to it. But there's a lot of love and a lot of positivity, especially in the toy sphere. Like this is, like I said, this is like my home away from home. Collectibles. Look, if you look at my Facebook, it's literally nothing but toys and art, like all day. So,
yeah, and you know the haters are gonna. I don't even want to say haters, right? Because everybody throws it around, but you know the detractors, the naysayers, they're always going to be there and they're always going to be around. But I have to say, like when I went to Joe Fest this year in Augusta, Georgia, I had so many people coming up to me saying like really supportive, positive stuff, and I don't need nothing but positivity. Like I can take constructive criticism, but I just like feedback, and I don't care what it is. I always tell people that I will always read the chat, respond to the chat. They don't have to be super chats. Sometimes it's a little harder than others. You know, when you have like 200 people, it's hard to catch everything. But at the same time, I always try to not be a hypocrite. As weird as that sounds, I always do my best to not be a hypocrite. But sometimes we fail at that, but I do my best, you know, and it is what it is. But I'll always be honest, you know.
Like I say, I've been on a lot of shows, man, and this has been one of the best ones I've been on. Seriously, that's not just me trying to be nice. You kept it flowing. Great host, man. Like I said to you a second ago, I'm happy to come on again. This has been a lot of fun. And like I said, I learned a lot about G.I. Joe, so cool. I like that too.
I'd love to have you back, Jeff. Thank you so very much.
Anytime, man.
For everybody hanging out with us that's still here, thank you all for being here tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me and celebrating Jeff Hicks and World Class Bullshitters. Again, if you're not subscribed to them, go do that before you leave the stream. Jeff, you want to sign us out?
Folks, thank you for watching. We'll be back next time with more. But in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.
So good, man. Thank you so much, Jeff. Have an awesome day.